We are not expecting the fire alarm to sound this afternoon. If the alarm does go off, please leave the building by the nearest exit. The assembly point is on the green in front of the St Peter's Hill surgery. I would like to begin by welcoming all councillors and officers and members of the press and public who are joining our meeting today. I would also draw your attention to the fact that the meeting is being recorded. Any councillor who wishes to speak should press the button on their microphone. A green light will signal that you are in the queue. I will call councillors to speak in the order in which they appear on the list. Please do not press your button again if your green light is on. This will take you out of the queue. When it is your turn to speak, I will call your name and the Democratic Services team will ensure your microphone is live. They will also turn your microphone off when you have finished speaking. You will not be able to turn your own microphone on or off. This will be done for you. The button on your microphone will only allow you to join or remove yourself from the list of councillors requesting to speak. Members are also reminded that when speaking, comments should be addressed through the chairman and members should only speak clearly into their microphones. Members are also reminded that when the chairman starts to speak, you are to stop speaking and be seated. The length of time for speeches remains 5 minutes. You will be warned when you have 30 seconds left and when your time is up. Throughout this meeting, we will be voting by a show of hands. The only occasions we will be using a roll call vote will be if a recorded vote is requested. The rules of debate are set out in the Constitution, but here is a brief reminder. A member may speak once on motions and once on each amendment that is put. Other than exercising a right of reply at the end of debate on a substantive motion or an amendment, the only time a member may speak a second time is to raise a point of order, point of information, or a point of personal explanation. Points of order may only relate to an alleged breach of the Council's procedure rules or the law. Any councillor who wishes to raise a point of order must indicate the rule or law and the way in which they consider it has been broken. A point of information provides any councillor with the ability to intervene should they believe another councillor is providing the council with incorrect information, therefore saving the council from being misled and saving its time. A point of personal explanation may only relate to some material part of an earlier speech made by the councillor, which may appear to have been misunderstood during debate. We will now begin to work our way through today's agenda. Agenda item 1, public open forum. I will now ask the Democratic Services Manager to confirm whether any questions have been received from members of the public.
Thank you, Chairman. I've had no registrations ahead of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Can I please ask the Democratic Services Manager to confirm any apologies that have been received for absence?
Yeah, thank you again, Chairman. I've had apologies in advance of the meeting from Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew. Thank you.
Are there any other further apologies to be noted? Thank you. Item Agenda 3, disclosures of interest. Members are reminded that a disclosable pecuniary interest is an interest any member holds where they or their spouse or civil partner is likely to receive any financial benefit or disadvantage because of the decision that is being made. For example, this could be because of their employment or a dividend they have in respect of an affected business. It also covers any land they hold. Members should also consider whether they have any other registrable interests or non-registrable interests that would need declaring at the meeting in accordance with the Council's Code of Conduct. Once you have declared an interest, you should leave the meeting, not speak or vote on the debate. If any member has any interests that they need to disclose, please indicate them now. Thank you. If during debate it becomes clear to you that you have a disclosable pecuniary interest or any other interest in any item, you can declare it at the relevant point of the meeting. We will now proceed with the next item of business. Agenda item 4. Minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of November 2023. This item is to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of November 2023. Any corrections should be regarding the accuracy of the substance of the minutes, not typographical errors, which should have been raised with the Democratic Services team when the minutes were published. If you wish to make any further corrections to the minutes, please indicate now. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do believe, I'm starting to be corrected on this, bottom of page 20, which is page 16 of the minutes, it says it was proposed, seconded and agreed that the meeting be extended by half an hour. This motion fell. I don't believe you can have a motion that's agreed but also fell.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the amendment to the minutes that's been proposed. I think we're seeking to remove the word agreed. So it was proposed and seconded to refer the motion. Oh, sorry, I'm not in the wrong section of the minute. Sorry, it's the previous paragraph, isn't it? So we're saying it was proposed and seconded that the meeting be extended by half an hour. This motion fell, so we're removing the word agreed because obviously the motion wasn't agreed. So thank you for that. We just need to move that as an amendment and it needs to be seconded and voted upon, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have a proposer for that amendment, please? Thank you, Councillor Cleaver. Have we got a... Oh, Matt. OK, Councillor Bailey's proposing. Councillor Cleaver is seconding. Can we please now go to the vote? All those in favour, please raise your hands. Have we any against? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Oh, sorry. Councillor Manterfield abstaining. Thank you. That motion is carried. Is there any more that wishes to speak on these minutes? No? Have we got a proposer for these minutes, please? Thank you, Councillor Cleaver. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Baker. Thank you. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Any abstentions? Any against? Thank you very much. That motion's carried. Agenda item 5. Communications, including my own announcements. Well, it's been a very quiet time for myself. It's been Christmas. Not very much has been happening at all. So I really haven't got anything to announce. But I'm sure it will pick up and there'll be more next time. Is there any other person wishing to make us aware of any communications? Thank you, Councillor Cleaver.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have two things to announce to the Council.
Could you please stand?
I'm sorry. Apologies. Pardon me. I have two things to announce, first of all, before we move on to the next item, which is breaking news, and more details will obviously follow to all members, but a couple of things are coming in the last 24 hours. First of all, we've received from the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities agreement to our request for a programme extension on the Future High Streets Fund for Grantham to March next year, so a year's extension, as well as an agreement for the reallocation of monies to deliver all of the public realm projects in full. So that is good news, and obviously further details will go to scrutiny in due course. The other thing which we have heard of, but we are still awaiting the full details, is additional government money for supporting the internal drainage boards and the levies that they put on us and other councils in South Lincolnshire. Again, details are, Michael Gove announced at least £3 million recently. We don't know what share of that's going to come to us to support the internal drainage boards, which, particularly the south east of the district, desperately need support, as I'm sure we're aware after Storm Henk. Thank you. Those are the two announcements.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, further to announcements made in the press, I notified the Chief Executive of my intention to resign this morning, and I now confirm that I have now resigned, as of now, literally. So, in May last year, when I was elected, I stood on this spot and stated that I was honoured to have been elected leader of this council, and that it was a responsibility which I intended to discharge with a fair and open mind, a full heart, and with great thoroughness until this month, January 2024. Now, with a heavy heart, I must keep my promise and stand aside. With the change of leadership coming after only 8 months into a 4-year term, I think it's appropriate to paraphrase Winston Churchill. This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end. But it is perhaps the end of the beginning. I hope that the values of conscientiousness, creativity and compassion, which I have espoused, are now more firmly embedded in the culture of this council than they were 8 months ago. There are many challenges ahead, but I am more confident now than I was then that this council can and will overcome them, and that we can and will meet our objectives. I'm not walking away today. I will continue to serve this council and the people of my ward as strongly and diligently as I've always done. Finally, I should like to thank all those who have supported me over the past months, local residents, relatives, friends, council member colleagues, and of course, our council officers, whose commitment to SKDC is all too often understated. Thank you to you all.
Thank you, Councillor Cleaver. Councillor Ian Selby.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. I think this is the most appropriate time to propose a vote of thanks to Councillor Richard Cleaver. No doubt whatsoever, Madam Chairman, that it's a difficult job to undertake, steep learning curve as well for Richard. And I've also no doubt at times that when trying to organise certain meetings, it's probably like trying to herd cats. So a big thank you to Richard for what he's done for us in the last 9 months, is it? But anyway, just done a wonderful job for Richard. So thank you very much indeed.
Councillor Paul Wood.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, I'd just like to ask Councillor Cleaver, it just seems a bit surprising to me.
Sorry, Councillor Wood, it's not a question and answer. If you'd like to make your statement, please.
Okay, I'd just like to I'll make a statement then, Madam Chairman. Yeah, I'm just a little bit disappointed that Councillor Cleaver is stepping down. He's only been leader for 9 months. I find it a little bit strange that he's stepping down after such a short period of being leader, but that's all I will say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Morgan, would you please put your light on in future, please, not raise your hands. Thank you.
I'd just like to thank Richard for all of the extraordinarily hard work that he's done this year. I don't think any of us can appreciate. I know Councillor Selby quite rightly referred to herding cats. But it wasn't just that. He was also taking on a new role, new administration, trying to keep us all together as an authority, build relationships with our officers. I think he's done an extraordinarily good job. We are all still here. We're all still united. We've gone through a lot and we've delivered some wonderful things now in the process of delivering even more wonderful things. I particularly want to thank him, despite everything, all his workload. He took the time to look locally here in Grantham at our parking situation and listen to what we had to say, both regards to the needs of the town, but also regards to local parents and residents. So thank you so much, Richard, for everything you've done.
Councillor Tim Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. It's already been beaten to it. I've echoed what's already been said. Councillor Cleaver worked very close with us in Grantham, and we appreciate him for that. But to anybody who was actually here when Councillor Cleaver was elected, it is no surprise. It was stated then. So anybody that was here and awake would have known then that this was the day that Councillor Cleaver was going to step down. Thank you very much.
Councillor Gill.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for those words, Councillor Cleaver. It's obviously you're making public the fact that the argument within the Rainbow Alliance has been won by those wanting you to settle down. Given that for the last couple of weeks I've been hearing that you're not standing down, you are standing down, you're not standing down, you are standing down. Thank you for actually confirming who won that argument. Thank you.
Councillor Sarah Trotter.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to thank Councillor Cleaver for coming out on my wards, but I do want to relay the real disappointment from the parish councillors on my ward and committees. They've just got to know you, and now you're standing down. So it's a shame, really, that you can't go forward and do what you'd promised them, I would say, and met them. But thank you.
Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As Councillor Cleaver well knows, and I've said it publicly in this chamber before, Labour supported him in May as the lesser of the two evils, and I reiterate that afternoon, Councillor Gill. But Labour absolutely thanks Councillor Cleaver, his deputy Ashley Baxter, and the administration for the absolute priority they have made the most deprived ward in this district. Yes, my ward, Littlefield State. Thank you.
Councillor Penny Milnes.
Yes, I would like to echo Councillor Trotter's words to you, Richard. You very kindly came round my ward on, I think, one of the wettest days of the year. We got absolutely drenched, but we did meet all the parish chairman and people in that ward, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I enjoyed meeting you. And yes, very similarly, it's a shame to see you go, but thank you for your consideration.
Councillor Mark Whittington.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Councillor Cleaver. And as I say, I'm also sorry to see you go. But the main purpose of me wanting to speak to address Council today, and I thank you, Madam Chairman, for the opportunity to do that, is to publicly put on record before full Council regarding my behaviour at the previous meeting of full Council on the 23rd of November. My behaviour on that occasion was completely unacceptable, a clear contravention of the members' code of conduct, and I apologise unreservedly for it. And I would like that to go on the public record, please, if possible. As a final thank you, I just want to thank all those members across the chamber who actually took time to contact me to ask me if everything was okay. I greatly appreciate it, and I feel extremely humbled by it, so thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to let two more people speak because they're the two that's registered. Then I'm going to close this particular item as it stands at this minute. Councillor Jane Kingman.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank Councillor Cleaver as well. He's been very helpful with me with regards to housing in Stamford, and he's made an effort and he's been out, and I think he's been a very good leader. So again, like everybody else here, I'll be very sorry to see him go. Thank you.
Councillor David Bellamy. Councillor David Bellamy.
Lady Chairman, I think my button has been pressed accidentally by Councillor Kingman when she got up. So,
Councillor Anna Kelly.
Madam Chairman, I didn't intend to speak at this point. I think it's very sad that some people can only look on the negatives. I think Richard has done a marvellous job, and I think he's done something here that hasn't been seen before. He has made a great effort to unite both sides of the chamber. He has not just been partisan about what he's done, and there are so many people around the chamber who are glad that he has been here. Can I just say as well, it was very nice to have an honourable leader who stood by what he said and listened to what the people in his group said. So I'm thankful to him. Thank you.
Thank you. As I said, I would let two more speak, but Councillor Kelly's name was already up, so that made it 3. I'm going to close it now because I think we're all in total agreement that Councillor Cleaver has done a sterling job, not just as leader, but as a friend as well. So I wish him well in his new role. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 6, election of the leader of the council. Councillor Gill.
Yeah, hi, Madam Chairman. So I've been asked by a number of people from across this chamber to raise a point of order at this moment of the election of a new leader. In that it seems that a lot of the conversations that have led to today have been quite tense within the administration group, and that it's been asked of me, and I think we agree on our side, that the constitutional procedures ought to be suspended so that the election of a new leader can be done by secret ballot, so that intimidation that individuals have seen and experienced and voiced to me isn't a factor in the serious vote in electing a leader today. Thank you. So I propose a suspending of Constitution so that we can have a secret ballot for the election of a new leader, please. Thank you.
Have we got a seconder for Councillor Gill's proposal? Councillor Milnes? Sorry. Councillor Mills?
Second that proposal.
Excuse me, Councillor Baxter, I have been... Okay, go to you then, thank you.
My point of order is that a point of order, as raised by Graham Gill, if it is a point of order, should be responded to by the monitoring officer. It's not a point of debate for the chamber.
Thank you, Chairman. So I think, obviously, you need the ability to introduce the item, I think, is probably the right process, which I know you haven't officially done yet. But I think in terms of the process that needs to be followed, if an amendment is, if a proposition is made and seconded, it would be to suspend Council Procedure Rule 15.3, which is the procedure rule that states you vote by a show of hands. In order to undertake that, you would need 2/3 of councillors present to vote in favour of that suspension of the procedure rule. So that would be 37 votes in favour based on the attendance at today's meeting. Thank you, Chairman.
Right. Well, this is very new, so we now go to, I'll read the agenda item out and then we will go forward. Agenda item 6, election of the leader of the council. The next item is the election of the leader of the district council for the remainder of this 4-year term, subject to the contents of paragraph 7.3 of Article 7 of the Constitution. There are a number of permutations regarding the vote for the leader, dependent on nominations. So firstly, could I please have nominations for the role of the leader of the district council? Councillor Dilks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's my absolute huge pleasure to nominate my close friend for many years and my constituent, Ashley Baxter, as leader of this council. I served with Ashley, first served with Ashley many years ago when he was elected to Deep in St James Parish Council. I'm still there, but he's moved on.
In opposition, many of you will know Ashley was a Rottweiler. He didn't take no for an answer, and he got to the bottom of things. Personally, I think the past 8 months as Deputy Leader has seen him transform into a good leader whilst maintaining his strongly held Christian beliefs. I know his values, and I know he is determined to achieve fairness, openness and the accountability in this chamber that we all crave for, or we should. I so nominate.
Have we got a seconder for Councillor Dilks's proposal? Councillor Denniston, thank you. Are there any other nominations? What's up? Oh, Councillor Ben Green.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. It's my delight to propose my friend and colleague, Councillor Graham Gill, for leader of this council. We should choose stability, not chaos. Choose moderation, not extremes. Choose fiscal sanity, a reforming agenda, and a cleaner, greener and safer district. Choose a South Kesteven we can all be proud of. Choose hope. This is a time for selecting a leader with expertise and professionalism. This is a time for choosing. Choose Jill. Let's win the future. Thank you.
Have we got a seconder for that proposal? Have we got a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Milnes.
Yes, thank you. We've just heard a number of strengths of Councillor Graham Gill. I should like to add a few more. He's not opaque, he's not a bully, he's not divisive, and he's not had an expensive vanity project or vicious social media account. He's not Machiavellian. The elections last May left us with the conundrum of a finely balanced council. We've had nearly 9 months of an underlying hard-left leadership, operating on the narrowest of margins. Yahoo, yahoo, baloo. And that, councillors, is what I'm talking about. Such behaviour is totally inappropriate in the chamber and reflects an immature and boorish culture. Operating on the narrowest of margins, and we have also had a previous history of one group dominating another, but times change. The performance of the council to date does not appear to reflect the vote from all around the district. There has been some imposition of politically influenced players, which has enabled the carrying of marginal votes on crucial issues. There is a better way forward to represent the electoral balance in a more democratic way to achieve that change. Councillor Gill can build that bridge. He is offering a hand of friendship to a more moderate, mature, cross-party grouping. He has the breadth of vision, fiscal probity and integrity to be trusted to lead us into that common-sense future and to guide us through the difficult years ahead. It would put the political base onto a firmer footing and help to focus and officer confidence that this council can work together. That is important, as we have an excellent chief executive who has built a new officer cohort over the last few years to make this council perhaps the best it has ever been. That is a precious inheritance. I suggest that we put partisanship aside and embrace a new... It is so sad to hear this. I suggest that we put partisanship aside and embrace a new way of agreeing to benefit all the residents across this large and diverse district. As we've heard earlier, people matter. As a truly independent councillor,
excuse me,
quite frankly, more yaboo, and that's very pathetic, I ask you to please think carefully, be rational and responsible. Vote for Councillor Graham Gill to be the moderate and competent leader of South Kesteven District Council. Thank you.
I'd like to now go over to Graham Watts for some comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So just to clarify, I think it was badged as a point of order, but it probably was a proposition to suspend council procedure rules to allow for a secret ballot to take place. So I didn't catch a seconder, Councillor Milnes, but that's a procedural motion, Chairman, that I believe has been proposed and seconded.
So this now needs to be voted on. So, Councillor Baxter?
I think, sorry, I should be standing up. If we're going to vote on an issue, such an issue, then we should allow debate. And what I would like to say in response to the call for a suspension of standing orders is that in times gone by, under different administrations, I think it was me that proposed that the election of the chair should always be done by a secret ballot. The election of the chair of the council, which is properly independent, not partisan at all, should be done by secret ballot. And at the time, the incumbent Conservative administration threw that out because they wanted to know where people were voting. And on another occasion, actually, when some people voted the wrong way, the year that Bob Sampson was elected as an independent ahead of a Conservative, we were still using these little buttons, these for against. And the leader at the time actually asked Democratic Services for a list of which buttons were pressed. So I think maybe it's progress, but it is ironic that a member of that previous administration, who I'm almost certain voted against secret ballots for the chair in the past, should now be asking for a secret ballot in the hope that he can scrape another vote.
Is there any more comments, please? Oh, Councillor Selby.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, on this side of the chamber, we believe in openness, transparency, and the general public knowing what's happening. I'm sure the general public would like to know which way each particular council has voted. And we're actually having this vote because there was a gentleman's agreement that was made back in May between the leader and the deputy. Gentleman's agreement. That's a thing of somebody being honourable, Madam Chairman. So we on this side of the chamber, we believe in that as well, Madam Chairman. This secret vote on this, absolutely no way as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Councillor Mark Whittington.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Sort of confused, a little disappointed actually. The Councillor Baxter, who previously has all been in favour of secret ballots, all of a sudden now has changed his mind, changed his position because it's going to potentially advantage him. Well, if that's the approach he wants to, if that's how he wants his leadership to start, well, so be it. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Elvis Stokes.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm going to obviously, I'm agreeing with Ian Selby. We came into here as open and transparency with our district and our communities. Now, the question is, what has the opposition got to hide? Why do they want it secret? I can assure you this side of the chamber has nothing to hide, and we're happy to go ahead and see who votes for what. And when it comes to vote, I would ask for the vote to be recorded, because honestly, I do not agree with secret votes. This isn't Westminster, this is a district council, and we need to be open to our constituencies and district. So once again, opposition, what are you hiding and what are you scared of?
Councillor Paul Wood.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As the previous leader of the independents on this council, I do remember well, actually, what the election was when Bob Sanson was elected. And you're right, you did actually call for a secret ballot, didn't you? So I can't quite understand why you're refusing it now. You say I was scared of anything. I'm always free to vote. I stick by my independent background and my leader. I think there's nothing to frighten for it. Are you frightened of it? There's nothing. Why can't we have a secret ballot? That's what actually called for previously.
Councillor David Bellamy.
Well, the only comment I would make is that generally I think secret ballots seem to be fairer. And I'll give an example. The Trade Union Reform Act 1983, where secret ballots were brought in by law, first strike action, because there was that seemed to be fairer and ruled out any sort of intimidation or anything. So I think that secret ballots are a very good idea.
Can I just make one thing clear? I haven't forgotten about Councillor Stokes' recorded vote, and I know, Virginia, you wanted to second it. I haven't forgotten that, but because we've got this motion on the table first, it needs to be debated and voted on, because if that goes through, then we won't need a recorded vote. So bear with me, let me get these other people to pass their comments and we'll move forward. Councillor Murray-Turner.
On behalf of the Liberal Democrats and as a representative of South Kesteven, as a district councillor, we'd rather that we were open and transparent, and that's the whole point of being in this coalition with the other Rainbow Alliance parties. So I can't see any need to hide things, and I can't see any need for deceit. So I think that we should go forward with an open ballot.
Councillor Peter Stevens.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I would have thought it's completely obvious why we should have a secret ballot. The oafish behaviour, which we've seen from the right of the chamber, which is clearly that behaviour is meant to intimidate, and I feel very frightened myself. And I think it's I think a secret ballot is entirely appropriate. Thank you.
Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Thank you. I have in the past had to oversee an election, and I am very aware of how important a secret ballot is to some individuals. But I'll say this, regardless of the outcome of this vote, whether it's secret or not, I am 100% convinced that the outcome will be the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My colleague here has very aptly put what I was going to say, but I would say, yes, in terms of openness, I'd say what could be more open than having a recorded vote? It's already been proposed and seconded, probably was good for that if we really want openness.
Councillor Rob Sharrock.
Thank you, Chair. Could I move procedural motion 13.6 EJ that this question is now put?
Councillor Stevens.
It's not correct that in the council chamber, in order to show respect to our august council and all our members and all our constituents, ties should be worn, Mr. Sharrock, Councillor Sharrock.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Right, a number of people have spoken, and there's still 3 more to speak, but I propose we go to the vote, please. Councillor Gill, yes, you may.
Okay, so just to summarise, well, first of all, I'm delighted to hear that Councillor Ashley Baxter is in support of secret ballots. That did escape my opinion. But I mean, what we've seen today is exactly why people across this chamber, including on that side, have asked me to stand up and request a secret ballot. There's clearly some sort of 1970s trade union vote show vibe going on here. The gentleman's agreement that was the basis of the handover today was the result of some shambolic election on their side that is now legendary across this chamber, whereby it wasn't a secret ballot. So for all those points, and again to reject the point that there is intimidation. As we've heard, this may not affect the result. I actually think it's a good precedent that we can be setting here. Now, Councillor Baxter shakes his head. I wonder what's changed since he requested this to now him rejecting it. So I think that it's a good precedent to set, and we should set the precedent of free and secret ballots. Thank you.
Right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're now going to go to the vote on that. There's been enough said and enough people spoken, and there's people wanting to speak for a second time, which we don't have. So I now propose we go to the vote. Can we please have...
Madam Chairman, may I request a recorded vote?
No. Yes, you can have a recorded vote. Have you got a second of your recorded vote? Pardon? Yeah. Yeah.
It's a recorded vote on a secret ballot.
Okay.
Bang your gavel.
Right, thank you very much, everyone. Can you please take your seats? That's obvious that everyone wants a recorded vote. So we will now go to the recorded vote. I'll pass you over to Graham Watts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. So this is a recorded vote on the proposal to suspend council procedure rules to allow for a secret ballot. So when I call your name, please could you let me know whether you are voting for, against or abstaining from the motion to suspend council procedure rules. Okay. So Councillor Bailey. Councillor Emma Baker. Councillor Rees Baker. Councillor Baxter. Councillor Bellamy. Councillor Bisnath Singh. Councillor Bosworth. Councillor Bird. Councillor Cleaver. Councillor Crawford. Councillor Cunnington. Councillor Denniston. Councillor Dilks. Councillor Dixon Warren. Councillor Dobson. Councillor Ellis. Councillor Fellows. Councillor Gadd. Councillor Green. Councillor Harrison. Councillor Gill. Councillor Johnson. Councillor Kelly. Councillor Kingman. Councillor Knight. Councillor Knowles. Councillor Lane. Councillor Leadenham. Councillor Lay. Councillor Mansfield. Councillor Martin. Councillor Milnes. Councillor Moran. Councillor Morgan. Councillor Noon. Councillor Rahman. Councillor Rayside. Councillor Robbins. That was Nick Robbins, apologies. Councillor Penny Robbins. Councillor Sandal. Councillor Sawyer. Councillor Selby. Councillor Shorrock. Councillor Smith. Councillor Stevens. Councillor Steptoe. Councillor Stokes. Sorry, Councillor Paul Stokes. Councillor Ian Stokes. Councillor Stooke. Councillor Trotter. Councillor Turner. Councillor Whittington. Councillor Jane Wood. Councillor Paul Wood. Councillor Woolley. Thank you, Chairman. So I can confirm that there were 27 votes in favour, 27 votes against and 1 abstention. But the requirement is that 2/3 of those in attendance have to pass the motion. So unfortunately the number was not reached, therefore the motion is lost. So there will not be a secret ballot, Chairman. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will now vote on the recorded vote for the leader. But backpedal a little bit there, folks. We've had a proposer and a seconder for a recorded vote for the leadership. Can we please now, all those in favour, please raise your hands. For a recorded vote. Raise your hands for a recorded vote. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. It's carried.
That's carried. Thank you very much. So we will now go for the leader of the council. I'll pass it over to Graham. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So we have 2 members that have been nominated for the position of Leader of the Council, Councillor Ashley Baxter and Councillor Graham Gill. So when I call your name, could you please call out the name of the councillor you would like to be elected as Leader of the Council? Thank you. So if I start with Councillor Bailey. Oops.
Councillor Woolley.
Thank you, Chairman.
Could you stand, please?
So sorry. Can I just understand why we're not hearing from both of the candidates as to why they're appropriate to be Leader of the Council?
We've already done that, Councillor Woolley, when they were proposed and seconded. I think, is that, would you like the actual councillors to say something themselves? Yes. Okay, thank you, Councillor Woolley. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It would appear that it's not part of the Constitution to do that, what I've just been told. So we will go now with the recorded vote, and I'll hand back to Councillor Mr. Graham Watt.
Thank you, Chairman. Does everyone understand the process that we're following if I commence with the roll call of councillors? Yes. So again, if you just call out the name of the councillor that you wish to be elected as leader. So, Councillor Matt Bailey. Councillor Emma Baker. Councillor Rhys Baker. Councillor Baxter. Councillor Bellamy. Councillor Bisnell Singh. Councillor Bosworth. Councillor Bird. Councillor Cleaver. Councillor Crawford. Councillor Cunnington. Councillor Denniston. Councillor Dilks. Councillor Dixon Warren. Councillor Dobson. Councillor Ellis. Councillor Fellows.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Gadd.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Green.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Harrison.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Johnson.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Kelly.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Councillor Kingman.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Knight.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Knowles.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Councillor Lane.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Leadenham.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Lay.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Manterfield.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Martin.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Milnes.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Moran.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Councillor Morgan.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Noon.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Rahman. Councillor Rayside. Councillor Nick Robbins.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Penny Robbins. Councillor Sandal.
Councillor Gill.
Councillor Sawyer.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Selby. Councillor Shorrock. Councillor Smith. Councillor Stevens. Councillor Steptoe.
The lesser of the two evils, Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Paul Stokes. Councillor Ian Stokes. Councillor Stooke. Councillor Trotter. Councillor Turner. Councillor Whittington. Councillor Jane Wood. Councillor Paul Wood. Councillor Woolley. Thank you, Chairman. So I can confirm that Councillor Baxter had 29 votes, Councillor Gill had 25 votes, and there was one abstention, so Councillor Baxter is elected as Leader of the Council.
Thank you. Councillor Baxter has been appointed as Leader of the Council. Councillor Baxter, do you wish to speak and take the opportunity to announce changes to the makeup of your cabinet?
Yes, I will, please. Thank you, Madam Chairman. And thank you so much to everyone who voted for me or even abstained or stayed away. I'm very grateful to all of you. Thank you, colleagues, for choosing me to lead the Council from this point hence. Compare and contrast with this time last year and ask yourself, was there ever a more clear-cut case of a poacher becoming a gamekeeper? And a Lincolnshire poacher at that. As any regular listener to the Archers knows, it's often the poachers who make the best gamekeepers. The work begins immediately. As soon as this meeting is over, I will be talking to Councillor Cleaver, who I hope will hand over the nuclear codes. I will be speaking to Councillor Rees-Baker to get the name of a decent tailor. But before that, I'd like to express my thanks to Councillor Cleaver for the honourable way that he has stuck to the agreement that we made. Councillor Cleaver, I was going to get you flowers, but the patriarchy continues, and so therefore you've got something to drink instead. Thank you. The agreement that we made 29 months ago, and I'm obviously relieved and pleased that everybody else has stuck to the script. I'm relieved, grateful and indebted to you. This change of leadership is not the result of any crisis or instability, as is usually the case with the change of leaders nationally or locally. This is not a crisis or instability, this is continued stability, and I don't intend to be the cause of any instability in the future. Some might say that 8 months, in fact I think Paul Wood did say that 8 months is not long for a leader. I would remind such people that since the last general election, the average tenure of a cabinet member is 7 months. I want to thank Richard also for the time, commitment that he's put into the role of leader since last May. All the meetings, all the phone calls, all the WhatsApps, all the emails, all the other messages that he has handled. Some firefighting, some fire lighting, some handling difficult questions from reasonable people, some handling reasonable questions from difficult people, and various other combinations of the above. Richard has launched the corporate plan. He's navigated us through the depot proposals. He's shone a light on the St Martin's Park situation, steered us through the Leisure SK situation, and helped us to arrive at a decision on the Deepings Leisure Centre, for which we are grateful. As leader, Richard has helped us to turn over various stones, lifted up the carpet to see what's been swept under it, and opened the metaphorical curtains to allow in the sunlight. And talking of which, The people who disparagingly refer to our administration as the Rainbow Alliance have clearly forgotten that rainbows are the result of sunlight entering a storm. Back in May, some people looked cynically at this motley bunch, which what they described as former Greens, actual Greens, former Labour members, actual Labour members, former Conservatives, actual far-right fanatics, loony lefties, conspiracy theorists, eco-mentalists, climate deniers, and not least, last but not least, Liberal Democrats. We have more to unite us across the chamber than to divide us. We have all got the single-minded focus on improving services for residents. And ironically, it is the SK coalition of Conservatives and Neo-Conservatives which seems to be struggling and failing to hold themselves together. So, to attend to the terms and conditions, I can announce that apart from the positions of leader and deputy leader, and as far as it is up to me, the membership and broadly our designated responsibilities will remain unchanged until the annual meeting of the Council. And for avoidance of doubt, and I'm sure to the delight of Councillor Wood, Councillor Trotter, Councillor Milnes, Councillor Whittington, and I stopped noting down at that point, I'm delighted to announce Richard Cleaver as my deputy leader. I look forward to working with Karen Bradford and all her staff of the Council. I expect robust debate, and I dare say, Karen, the occasional disagreement, as is healthy in any organisation, but I recognise that the senior officers of the SMT have hundreds of years of experience in local government, collectively between them. And we all of us need to respect, appreciate and celebrate the resources that are our staff. I've said many times before that this council chamber is a much happier place. We have our moments. We've just had our moment. It's a much happier place than it was a year ago. When I was first elected in 2015, the then leader, the late Bob Adams, welcomed me as an opposition member and told me that he fully expected that there would be theatricals in the council chamber. But if I actually wanted to communicate anything important, then I would be welcome to approach him directly. It seemed like a perfectly reasonable way to operate and one which I would like to emulate. There are 70,000 houses that are relying on us to deliver efficient, effective, value-for-money services. We can only do that if we all play our part and work together, cross-party, cross-chamber, members and officers alike. Of course we need constructive abrasion, but we all need to remember that ultimately we are all on the same team. So thank you for appointing me as your team captain.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. We look forward to this. We'll now move on to agenda item 7, the Pay Policy Statement 24-25. This report seeks members' approval to approve the Pay Policy Statement 24-25, which has been recommended by the Employment Committee held on the 17th of January 2024. Is there a proposer for this recommendation to the report? Councillor Rayside.
Thank you, Chair. This report presents the Pay Policy Statement for 2024-25. It is a requirement of the Localism Act 2011 that the Council produces an annual pay policy statement which must be approved by full Council before the end of March each year and published on its website. The Pay Policy Statement report was considered by Employment Committee on the 17th of January 2024 and was referred to Council for approval. There are minor changes to the 2023-2024 statement, and it meets the statutory requirements placed upon us. The key changes include updates to the definition of officers covered by the Pay Policy Statement and changes in the statutory national minimum wage and national living wage rates. The Pay Policy Statement includes information relating to the Council's policy for the salary of its chief officers, its lowest paid employees, and the relationship between them. In addition, it provides details of chief officers' pay and sets out a policy for pay criteria. This also includes apprentices. The pay policy statement also includes the Council's policy on allowances, pension schemes, contribution rates, termination payment, re-engagement of employees, and gender pay reporting. Thank you, Chair. I move to get a seconder for this, please.
Have we got a seconder for this, please? Councillor Knowles.
Thank you. I have great pleasure in seconding the motion so ably put by my colleague Rhea. Thanks very much indeed.
We'll now go to debate. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Councillor Gill.
Thank you. Firstly, I congratulate Councillor Baxter on his elevation to the leader, and the hard left takeover of the council is complete. I hope I could work in the same constructive manner with him as I did with his predecessor, Councillor Cleaver, who I always felt I had a good open dialogue with. Moving to the pay policy statement, it has been through the appropriate channels, consultation, development with employee groups. I want to go on record and say that South Kesteven has a remarkable team of employees and officers at all levels. It is our primary strength. In spite of some of the democratic chaos, I hope the officers who are looking in today will look at this and see that the council can hopefully work through this process for a better future. And so I commend this statement. I commend the pay policy statement to the council. Thank you.
Councillor Rob Sharrock.
Sorry, is that me? There you go, Scott. Thank you. Thank you very much for the report. 2 points I've got on the report. One is it mentions apprenticeships, but doesn't state how many apprenticeships the council currently has. That would be interesting to know. And then it's this issue about equal pay reporting. At the moment, there are 2 separate processes going on, and I wonder if it's possible to integrate equal pay reporting into this document in terms of pay policy as potentially a proposal for the future. I understand it's not going to happen immediately, but I think it would be really useful to see the gender gap in pay when we're also voting on a pay policy as well. Thank you.
Councillor Murray. Councillor Turner as well.
Thank you. Whilst given the opportunity to speak, before I move on to the pay policy statement, like to refute that this side of the House is a hard left coalition, because it's quite obvious when people vote Liberal Democrat that they're not voting hard left, so perhaps you'd like to withdraw that remark, Graham. Moving on to the pay policy statement, it's very well presented. Thank you, Jane Jenkinson, for producing it, and also Richard Wiles for reviewing it as well. I think it's a good and well laid out policy, and I'm very much in favour of it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Would you like to sum up, Councillor Rayside?
Thank you, Chair. To address Councillor Sharrock, the pay gap policy is going to be coming to the committee in March, and we have 18 apprentices, and that is spanned across IT, housing, we have one in plumbing and admin. Ashley, I humbly apologise. Whilst I was sat there, I kept saying, remember to congratulate Ashley. And I completely went straight to my presentation. So thank you very much. Congratulations. And I look forward to working with you, and we can get back to getting some work done. Back to my summary. Thank you for your comments across the room. Over the next year, we will work to continue to focus on a way we can operate as a council to improve our policies, procedures, and our practices in conjunction with our corporate plan. As I think everyone's said their bit and we have a heavy agenda, I'll move to the vote.
Right, thank you very much, Councillor Rayside. Could we please now go to the vote? All those in favour, please raise your hands. Any against? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 8, the Corporate Plan 2024-2027. Full Council are asked to consider the Corporate Plan before them, as recommended by Cabinet, who met on the 18th of January 2024. Is there a proposer for the recommendations to the report? Councillor Knowles.
Very much, Chair. I've got in my notes here lots of... My voice has gone, I don't know why. But my first of all, so I've got 3 first of alls now. First of all is to congratulate Ashley. The second thing is to be flattered almost that I've joined the hard left. I'm sure Lee will be glad that I've joined the hard left. Oh no, he's not part of it anymore. Whatever. But seriously, first of all, I think we should offer our thanks on behalf of the whole of the Council to the people who've helped put this together. Obviously, the leader and the chief executive had a major input, but behind the scenes, a lady called Debbie Roberts has done an amazing amount of work on this report, on this corporate plan, and she's been helped by other people, including Charles James, who is a sort of resident statistician these days. He has swamped us with statistics about the council and about the district, and has helped us formulate the corporate plan in front of you. So can I first of all thank them on all your behalf. I'm sure it's on all your behalf. Thank you. The corporate plan sets out the strategic vision and key priorities of the council for the next 4 years, 2024 to 2027. This is a plan grounded in a comprehensive evidence base, informing the Council's strategic direction and priorities. It is designed to be ambitious, realistic, dynamic and adaptable, with a long-term focus of where we want our district to be in the medium term. The development of the plan was guided by 3 fundamental principles, and these were gathered together very early in the life of this Parliament and life of this Cabinet. There was a meeting convened which was facilitated by a gentleman from Lalk, who brought us together very, very early on, the Cabinet, and we did look at all the things that we wanted to do and the principles on which we wanted to base those decisions over the next 5 years, other than getting rid of the administration, which we didn't want at the time. And so that brought us together, and these 3 principles are, first of all, being listening and being responsive to the needs of all our communities. That comes at the top of our priorities. We intend to listen. We intend to be responsive to people's needs, and we've tried to do that so far, and believe we have done on many occasions so far, as been mentioned by various people in the room through Councillor Cleaver's leadership. The second thing is to try to build trust and confidence by promoting a culture of openness, transparency and accountability. And once again, it's something I brought to speeches in the last version of this administration on many occasions, so I'm absolutely pleased that that is one of our principles now. Also, the third one is providing value for money for residents and businesses through responsible and prudent use of resources. And as long as I'm involved on this side of things, we will be prudent in our financial management. The corporate plan is based on a golden thread. This is the thread that connects all work at all levels of the organisation, members to all the staff, directly to our overarching vision, priorities and ambitions. Our vision is to be a thriving district in which to live, work and visit. The phrase captures our aspirations for the district, a place of dynamic, prosperous and connected communities. Above all, a place residents are proud to call home. The priorities are the core of the plan, and we have five priorities. The first one, these aren't in any particular order, by the way. They're not, this is more important than this. They are just priorities that we are going to work with. Connecting communities to enhance the strength, well-being, security and capacity.
30 seconds, Councillor Knowles.
I would beg for extra time, please. It's an important document and a long document. And I'll ask the Council to give me a little bit more time.
Well, we need a vote on this.
Yeah, okay.
So, have we got... Obviously, you're proposing to extend for how long?
I'm asking for another 5 minutes, please.
Another 5 minutes. Have we got a seconder for that? Can we take a vote on that, please? All those in favour? Any against? That motion's carried. Thank you very much. Carry on, Councillor Knowles.
Thank you very much to the Council for the opportunity to speak a little more on the corporate plan. The second priority is to sustainable South Kesteven, to meet the challenge of climate change and ensure a clean, green and healthy natural and built environment for present and future generations. The third one is about enabling economic opportunity, to enable and support a dynamic, resilient and growing local economy which benefits all our communities. The fourth one is on housing, a critical one obviously, to ensure that all residents can access housing which is safe, good quality, sustainable and suitable for their needs and future generations. And the fifth priority is to be an effective council, to deliver trusted, high quality and value for money services that fulfil the need and expectation of all our residents. Each priority contains a set of ambitions. Each ambition will stimulate a range of programmes and projects. The ambitions, below the ambitions sit the actions that will take place, and they are described in the document in front of you. The actions will be monitored through the suite of key performance indicators, which will be reported to the overview and scrutiny committees and the Cabinet. Each priority contains a number of outcomes for 2034. That's a medium-term ambition, and clearly we won't be able to affect all those without people coming from other parts. Some parts of that we don't have any influence over, or direct influence over. The outcomes are intended to provide long-term focal points to bring together residents, businesses, skills providers, partners and community groups to develop and deliver action united by the common goal of a thriving South Kesteven. The plan is underpinned by three elements that are collectively called the foundations. Financial sustainability, how the plan will be funded, a commitment to and the practice of sound and prudent financial management. Performance management, how delivery will be monitored, and corporate values and equalities, the ethos on which the plan will be delivered. Just a quick note now about the development of the plan. The plan was developed through an evidence-based approach. We started with the State of the District report in 2023, which you all had as a basis. And on top of that, we put in socio-economic statistics provided for us by James Charles. The developing plan was refined through 3 workshops, which all members were invited to attend in early October. Feedback from the members was then confirmed the priorities and informed the further development of the plan. An all-member consultation was undertaken from the 10th to the 17th of November. The priorities were supported by 84% of respondents and the ambitions by over 90%. A 4-week public consultation subsequently followed from the 22nd of November to the 19th of December. The consultation received 587 responses, the second highest response of any consultation undertaken in the last 18 months. The priorities were supported by over 80% of respondents, averaged across the 5 priorities, and the ambitions by 86.4%. The consultation response was clear that the plan will require concrete action, plans for delivery and robust, transparent and accountable performance. In summary, the corporate plan is our blueprint for the next 4 years. It will give us a strategic framework for operational and medium-term financial planning and provide a clear direction to the Council. And I hope the Council will agree that this document is worthy to be accepted today. Just say one thing, we can produce a document with all sorts of fine words, and we've had a lot of fine words, in the report, and there's a lot of other fine words in the corporate plan report. But if we get it and put it in a drawer, it's a waste of space. And we are not going to do that. We're going to make it inform all our decisions going forward, and that will be reflected right through the council, through the staff, through the administration, so that everybody is understanding where we're all going to, where the thread is, from the vision through the ambitions to the plan at the end of the day. And that must be the outcome of this plan, not to just go in a drawer to be pulled out in 5 years' time and think, now do we start again. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Have we got a seconder for this? Thank you, Councillor Cleaver. We will now go to the debate. Councillor Mark Whittington.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Before I start, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Baxter on being elected leader of the council. Obviously, Councillor Baxter was not my choice, but I acknowledge the fact that he got the majority vote, and I wish him all the best in his new role. Before I go on to talk about the report, again, I'd like to sort of echo Councillor Knowles and thank the officers for all their hard work in the production of this. I've read it through. I've got a couple of sort of things in which I think you're on the right line, and another few slight concerns, which I think are some of the ones that Councillor Knowles that potentially you might have alluded to. Obviously, I'm new administration, new corporate plan. But my first concern is what I see is a reduction in ambition. The previous corporate plan referred to be the best district in which to live, work and visit. And we now seem to be a thriving district in which to live, work and visit. That for me seems to be a downgrading in ambition, which does concern me, because we're saying, well, we no longer have got ambitions to be the best, but we'll kind of settle for something else that's not the best. So that's just one concern. I noticed in terms of the list of ambitions that have been laid out that previously there were 15 ambitions, which have now gone up to 28. So the ambitions have doubled. And a concern regarding the capacity of our officers and also councillors to be able to deliver on this sort of doubling of the number of ambitions. Because my fear is that by having more ambitions than we've had previously, we may not be quite as strict in terms of seeing them through as before. I think the report does refer to some very, very important issues that are likely to face us all over the next 10 years, such as climate change, economic growth, ageing societies. I wonder if Councillor Knowles saw the same report that I was reading yesterday by the Institute of Fiscal Studies, which actually did look at this question in terms of the impact on the British economy during the next 10 years, because they identified a lot of these issues. Fundamentally, the forecasts for the growth of the UK economy for the next decade aren't very good. If you actually look at the Western economies since the financial crash of 2008-2009, the vast majority of Western economies haven't grown by more than about 1 to 1.5% for any reasonable length of time. Pre the financial crisis, we were at 2.5–3%. And obviously, the more economic growth you have, the more tax revenue you have to be able to pay for public services. Because the report also went on to discuss the impact that would likely have on the funding available for local councils and for local services and public expenditure in general. When you bear in mind that governments are ring-fencing money for the NHS, ring-fencing money for defence, and ring-fencing money for education, what's going to be left for local authorities is actually likely over the next 10 years to go down in real terms because of the problems of growth. So unless we get stronger growth, it's likely we will have to do and deliver all of this with less money, and that is a real concern. I take Councillor Knowles' point when he And I support him when he talks about prudent, sound financial management, because I think that's really important. But we know that the costs of implementing the Environment Act are going to cost in a region to this council of £5 million. We know that this council is facing some financial issues in terms of budgetary shortfalls in the next
30 seconds,
years.
Councillor Whittington.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. So, with all this in mind, I think, yes, great, we've got this corporate plan. But I think that unless we start... and I think the report is right to talk about these issues that we all face. But I can't see how this plan can be delivered within the current economic situation this council would like to find itself in over the next 4 years. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
That was spot on. Well done, Mark. Councillor Rob Sharrock.
Thank you. I actually think it is quite an ambitious plan, although I do echo some of the sentiment from Councillor Whittington, actually. The big problem, right, about bold and ambitious plans in this climate is that local government is at the mercy of the Conservatives' spending cuts in relation to that. And that's going to be a fundamental problem. And when Labour obviously gets to power at the next general election, it's going to still be quite difficult for them to address that. But I do take on board exactly what he's saying. It is a problem that needs to be looked at within this. There's a couple of points which I thought I needed to raise. One is about KPIs, okay, and how those are going to be developed, and how they're going to be developed coherently and provide realistic targets. All too often, right, these plans come into existence, they don't get buried at a drawer, but they end up just being monitored for a set of unrealistic KPIs. And I'd be interested in the way that's going to be validated through the process, so that you haven't got different groups, different overview groups, coming up with a whole range of KPIs, which just can't be achieved at all within the timescales and the ambitions that have been set. So I'd be interested in the mechanism of the validation around that. And my third point is on a specific point, really, around housing as well. So one of the outcomes which it's stated will be, as part of the plan, and I quote, is to review and rationalise the council's assets portfolio to ensure an optimal return to the council. Now, I can read that in many different ways. Constituents may read that and say, does that mean if I'm living in council housing and social housing, my rent is going to go up, right, to reflect the market demand around rents? And so one of the things I think we need to have within this is a really clear reassurance about what's going to happen around rents and rent controls as well going into the future. And the other thing, and I'll go back to the point about ambition and targets, one of the things which I've raised before, and we've constantly raised, is the idea that we should have really clear year-on-year targets around the number of properties, the number of dwellings, which are either going to be built or acquired for social leasing as well. And I can't see that directly within this plan. And I think it should be there. I think there should be something in there which makes it really clear that over this period of time, this is the number of dwellings that A, we're going to build, or B, we're going to acquire through the usual process. Thank you.
Councillor Trotter.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I refer to the corporate plan, what we will do. I note adopt a tree and woodland strategy and delivering an accompanying action plan. Please can we have assurances that particularly in our rural districts, living and breathing orchards and trees will not be ripped down to make way for inappropriate housing and buildings in our district. This corporate plan very much promotes climate change, which I congratulate, and ensure a clean, green and healthy natural and built environment. Residents that choose to live in the countryside, and particularly small villages, who I represent as their ward councillor, are particularly passionate about their green countryside, and this is why they live there. And also, please note, obviously we've had a real problem with flooding in the area, and I think we'll all agree that trees play a very important part in soaking up some of this flooding and water that we've seen across the district. Thank you.
Councillor Nick Robbins.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, on the corporate plan, I see that it's a nice place to live, to work, and to visit. I don't see invest and I don't see study. Is it because the head of service for economic development in the investment post still remains vacant, and that the far left leadership now has no desire to capture inward investment? And also, there's many high quality, good quality sixth form and colleges in this district. We champion the apprentice programme, but yet study is not part of the corporate plan. Can the Cabinet Member for Corporate Governance tell me why these two important aspects of any economy have been left out, and what emphasis are you putting on attracting these to the district? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bellamy.
Thank you, Lady Chairman. I want to echo similar to what Councillor Trotter said, actually, but for a different scenario. Before I start, I'll just caveat this, because I'm going to talk about solar farms and the way our policies could actually make us a target for more development. So I'll just caveat that in, as much as I'm on the planning committee and chairman of the planning committee, and we make decisions according to the local development plan as it is now. So I'm hypothetically talking about what could happen if those policies changed. In fact, I did actually vote for a solar farm a few days ago when it was at planning committee. After it had originally been refused and then came back as an amended plan. Well, one of the things that Councillor Trotter mentioned was, and Councillor Robbins, is bringing people in and why people want to live here, and why we should be looking after our countryside, particularly coming back to the corporate plan. It's an overarching document, and so what's in that feeds into all the policies below it. And basically what I'm concerned about is that if these policies are too tight and they emphasise climate change too much, it can actually work against you when making local decisions. I'll give you an example of that. I think it's Basildon Borough Council actually refused a planning application for a solar farm, and it went to appeal, and just get my facts right here. It went to appeal, and the planning inspector overrode the local planning authority and gave it permission. And the reason it was given permission, even the fact that, despite the fact that there was no local support for it, was because of their policy, the climate change strategy, an action plan, and what was in that plan. So what I'm saying to councillors is we just need to be careful what we're putting in our policy documents to make sure that we're leaving ourselves plenty of flexibility. And at the minute, the local plan has got a clause in it, particularly for renewable energy projects, where local consent is needed. Obviously, what's happened at Basildon District Council, Borough Council, is that the counter policies that they've incorporated in their policies have, in planning inspector's opinion, have overridden that and allowed this solar farm to go ahead. So what I'm saying is that we must maintain the policies where people have got, we need the local consent from people and local support. And I think what we don't want to see is the county, excuse me, the county covered in solar panels. And I think we've got another 3 coming at the minute. That's 5 in the last few months. but also, obviously, we've got the Mallard Pass one, and I believe there's one up near the A46 at the minute between Newark and Lincoln that's twice as big as Mallard Pass. So we're talking about 6 square miles of solar panels. Like I say, I think all of that's in Lincolnshire. And there's another one across near Sleaford as well, like I say, and we want to make sure that the policies that we've got to act locally stay in our local plan and that we don't undermine that.
Councillor Paul Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I must congratulate you, Ashley, on your appointment. I didn't vote for you, as you know, but congratulations, and I hope you managed to do a good job as leader. And I think you'll only achieve that by really working with the coalition. And what you don't want to do is divide the council, really. You're only won by a small majority. But congratulations anyway. All the best. Don't forget us. Right. We go on to the corporate plan. Yeah, obviously we need a corporate plan. It's an essential document. I notice it's got Richard's photograph in it. I don't know whether that will be replaced by you or both of you, but so be it. The photograph of Karen, of course, our chief exec. Everybody will know that I've been quite critical of housing. That's priority 4, housing. And Virginia, as chairman of the Housing Committee, will know I've been quite outspoken on housing things. That's not because I just want to slag off housing. I actually want to improve the housing stock and improve. We've got 6,000 council houses that we maintain. We do a lot of other things, repairs, voids, build new properties. I want all of that to improve. So I'm not just downer on it. We've also got disabled adaptations. Now, the only thing about priority 4, some of the things are quite admirable, what we will do. But as Councillor Knowles said, it's okay having great words in what we will do. It's the mechanism to achieve it. And a lot of the words I agree with, but I think we're lacking the mechanism. I mean, on some of them, what we will do, continue to improve the turnaround period and standards of properties. Now, in my experience, that's certainly something we haven't done, but we need to do, because the turnaround properties of voids has been dreadful. And the standard of our properties, we've had some cases where properties haven't been repairs haven't been carried out satisfactorily, and we do need to improve all of that. Disabled adaptations. I noticed in what we have delivered, we've completed 336 adaptations through disabled facilities grants. But I also know people have been waiting for disabled facilities grants. So I don't want to be too critical, and I'll say a lot of the ambitions we put down, I totally agree with. But I think we've got to be careful what we do have and put in place, as Councillor Knowles you said, the mechanism to achieve it. Otherwise, they're just great words that won't see any results. So my expectation is we need to do more. It's okay, priority 4 on housing as far as it goes, but to be quite honest, I don't think it goes far enough. So that's my problem with it, but thank you.
Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Thank you. Well, first of all, hopefully I won't forget, congratulations, Ashley, on becoming our new leader. Well done. And I know you've also worked extremely hard over the last year to help within a team with Richard to keep us all together, and that's really appreciated. Thank you. And I'd like to thank everybody involved in pulling together the corporate plan. And I will say, for those who didn't participate, it's such a shame because the opportunity was provided. I went to the workshop and I also did an online survey as well. I think some good comments have been made actually earlier in this debate. Unfortunately, where were they when they could have been integrated? I'd like to second Councillor Bellamy's concerns, and in fact, if you go back to the minutes of our last meeting, I had actually raised the point asking Councillor Ellis to make sure that the work we did on the woodland strategy goes into the local plan. It was raised throughout the work on the corporate plan. This is the start point. This isn't the end. So below this is going to be a huge amount of work, there'll be a huge amount of actions, there will be policy documents and everything else to follow. But what I'd like to focus on, if I may, we've been given the data regarding our district, and for me one of the really important aspects of this is that it's the priority around our communities, upon which I know most of us were elected, that we put our communities first. Page 49 I think is really telling, because actually it's hiding, and we've picked it up, the inequalities within our district. Because while some households, the average income is 21,000, which is actually really quite shockingly low when you think of the cost of living, within my own ward here, a stone's throw from here, you can see people who are living in one room. And they are now facing rent increases, which are astronomical, and homelessness is their only other option. And on the other side of my ward, we have some wonderful, large, Victorian, detached houses, stately homes. And our challenge as a local authority is to make sure that every voice is heard and that we represent all of those people. I'd like to thank Councillor Whittington for some of his comments, because actually I thank you for highlighting the situation with the economy, but you're not going to like what I'm going to say next. Why are we in this situation? Is it actually because of our economy, which in fact fared fairly well in the last 20 years, or is it actually due to government policy and budget setting by the government? The Inequalities Trust produced a really important report analysing the budgets over the last 40 years of our governments. Year on year, the wealthiest people in our country have benefited, to the point now, pre-COVID, £76 billion a year was coming out of our country. Now it's £106 billion per year that our government is allowing to leak out of our economy. At the same time, they're telling local government association they can't give us the £3 billion we need to keep our local authorities running and all of our local services running. There is a clear answer. We need a change of government, and a government that delivers for the people. The majority of the people.
Excuse me, Charmaine, this is not a political arena. Are you going to mention the... mention this corporate plan, please?
This is all about the corporate plan, because in order for us to deliver this government and any future government, whoever they are, need to be representing and funding our services, because how can we? We need these. Nothing in here is not necessary. We need the appropriate funding. So we have officers like poor Councillor, Richard. We need to give him the resources needed to feed into this. All of us need this. We need a government that listens to us, and I would like us to be shouting at the government, making it clear.
Thank you, Charmaine. Your time's up. Would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, I would. I'd like to go on to, if I may, just pick up the green policy.
No, stop, finished what you were just saying, not move on to something else. Thank you very much, Charmaine. Councillor Richard Dixon Warren, please.
Thank you, Chairman. And as Armed Forces Champion, I congratulate Ashley Baxter on becoming leader. I look forward to working with him, as I did with his predecessor, to enhance and reinforce SKDC's commitment to the armed forces community in our region. This corporate plan is a substantial document. It highlights South Kesteven's proud military and aviation heritage, the population of veterans that we have here. It features a photograph of the chairman inspecting the troops of Prince William of Gloucester Barracks. It emphasises Employer Recognition Gold Award. And it mentions our proud tradition of supporting the armed forces community. This is something of which we can be proud. I searched in vain, however, for any ambition or specific undertaking in the plan to continue and even improve support to the armed forces community. As a two-time signatory to the Armed Forces Covenant is arguably bound to do. I know it is intended. I know, with one singular exception, it is in the various plans that support this document. But I wonder, why could it not have been specifically mentioned in the corporate plan? Thank you.
Councillor Matt Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and firstly, congratulations, Ashley. If members can take a look at Appendix 2, which is a detailed report on the public consultation. According to the LGA, consultation is technically any activity that gives local people a voice and an opportunity to influence important decisions. I am sure we can all agree that getting a public view on proposals across our district is a very important part of our decision making. On page 65, we outline the objective as to measure the degree of support for our corporate plan. Have we achieved this? For me, a key word is missing: accurately measure. Councillor Knowles mentioned there were 587 responses. Now let me ask two questions to you all in the room. How many people responded to the survey? The answer is not 587. My second question: how many times could you complete the survey? As many times as you want. Could one person have submitted the survey 100 times? Maybe. Was it possible? Absolutely. It's no secret that I work in cybersecurity and see fraud, bots and scams on a daily basis. Survey fraud refers to deceptive practices in the collection or submission of survey responses. This can involve individuals or bots submitting false or misleading answers, often to skew results or to benefit from without genuine participation. Surely, as members here today making a key decision about our corporate plan, we should have accurately known what the public think. I am worried we have exposed ourselves to misleading information. The comments on Councillor Harrison's Facebook posts or Councillor Noon's devolution poll might right now be a more accurate way to do consultation and measure the public's thoughts on council proposals. Consultancy should not be a tick box exercise. We should be using the information to influence decisions, giving our local people a voice. I believe Appendix 2 should therefore be disregarded. Maybe we should defer today's decision until we conduct a new public survey. I urge our new leader to address consultancy urgently. I sincerely hope we don't now have thousands of responses to our council tax consultation, which is currently open. I will not be able to support the corporate plan today without knowing the public have been accurately consulted and represented. Thank you.
Councillor Steptoe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to just ask a straightforward technical question, I suppose, but I can't resist just a comment to the other side of the chamber, as it were, I guess, and I'm not going to mention anybody by name because I don't want to get down to that level, quite frankly. But I guess on this side now we've got to be careful about what we say, or we'll be branded something like hard left. Well, I've been called far, far worse. Far, far worse, and I'm sure I'll be called far, far worse in the future. But I would imagine that genuinely there will be independent people, Liberal Democrats, as already has been pointed out, who actually find that term a little bit offensive. It's puerile, quite frankly. and I hope that sort of language can stop. Because on this side we could start talking about a hard right Conservative government, etc. You know, I'm trying to restrain myself and, like the new leader, and congratulations, be a new man and work cross-party and so on. All right, but we can all start slinging mud if we want to, and I genuinely hope that for the good of our district that can stop. The second very, very quick point is a certain councillor in the chamber keeps going on about problems in the new administration, particularly in the housing department. And once again, without mentioning names, I'm going to gently say to him yet again, did all these problems start before May then? Were voids not a problem before May? Were we not in special measures before May? Now, as I said, I had no intention whatsoever of standing up and saying this, but I think, quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, it needed saying. You know, I'm not prepared just to sit here and have mud thrown, quite frankly. I am coming on to that right now. So it's okay for you to have your little pot shot, Councillor Gill, but you don't like it when the pot shot is given back. Typical Tory. There we go. There we go. Yes, certainly, Madam Chair. So my question, quite simply, is that as regards consultation on the corporate plan, I know that a SKDC have set up a youth council, and I know that that has been doing some absolutely superb work. Just a straightforward question to, I guess, the Cabinet member involved. Have schools, especially sixth forms and local colleges, been consulted on this corporate plan? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Cleaver.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I speak here as the seconder of the proposal that we adopt the corporate plan. I've obviously worked on it substantially with the Cabinet member for governance over a number of months now. So taking on board the comments made, for which thank you, everyone that's commented, I must say that we did hold 3-member workshops, and I'm afraid I must say that it's disappointing that only 23 members took part in any one of those. But notwithstanding that, we have run an open and accountable process to get to this stage with the corporate plan. And I would say that some of the remarks I've heard, I'm disappointed that people haven't made earlier in the process, especially from those people who didn't attend any of the corporate plan member workshops. That is disappointing. I think you know me well enough by now, after 8 months, that I do like people to discuss things that are concerned to them before we get to a formal meeting, because it makes a better decision making. And I reiterate that again now. Councillor Whittington talked about ambition. And yes, the ambitions are something we want to be deliverable. So to have an ambition to be the best district out of how many hundreds of districts there are in the country is very difficult to either measure or to deliver on, in all realism. And that's why that wording was taken out. We want to have ambitions that are deliverable in the context in which you so clearly set out of constantly reducing funding over the coming decades that I think we all expect to happen. But yes, there are more ambitions listed. And the reason there are more ambitions listed is because it goes back to our commitment to thoroughness, to covering off every base. We live in a complex world, and lots of things going on all the time, and we want to make sure that we've got them all covered. And don't forget this golden thread. The golden thread isn't just a catchphrase, it's a reality. Every single report that every officer writes in this council references back to the corporate plan objectives. And they have to think every time they write, does this proposal meet with our corporate objectives? And if so, how? Or if it doesn't, why doesn't it? And that is why this isn't going to sit on a shelf and be forgotten. It is a living document. And our officers conscientiously make sure that it is a living document. So please have confidence that that's what it's all about, and it's a reality. These aren't empty words. Councillor Shorrock mentioned KPIs. Absolutely crucial. You've got to measure this in a measurable way. Measurable objectives. We've all done the business studies courses, I'm sure, about measurable objectives. Fine. But don't forget, we have a commitment to open scrutiny and independent scrutiny. So it's not for council or cabinet to set KPIs. It's for scrutiny committees, independently, to set the KPIs they want, review the KPIs they want, and keep on top of them. That's their job. That is the job of scrutiny. So I have every confidence that our scrutiny is going to improve. It's improved a lot in the 8 months. The way we do it, it will continue to improve. And KPIs are a way of proving that in practice, in reality. Mention was made about references to planning. Very valid. But of course, legally, our local plan is set separately. It has to be legally, has to be signed off by the Secretary of State. The corporate plan can't contradict it, and vice versa. And the two, unfortunately, legally can't be completely integrated, but we obviously have to make sure that they don't contradict each other and they support each other and supplement each other.
30 seconds, Councillor Cleaver. Councillor Bellamy.
I referenced local plan, but also referenced a decision by a planning inspector. And what the planning inspector did, he made reference to the other policy rather than the local plan. And I think that's the point I was making, really. So basically, the planning inspectorate allowed this solar farm on the basis of a climate change policy rather on the basis of the local plan. Just to clarify, that's what I was saying.
Thank you. Please carry on, Councillor Cleaver.
Thank you. On the question of investment, obviously the ambitions very clearly talk about economic prosperity. So I'm surprised to hear Councillor Robbins, who didn't attend any of the member workshops, mentioning that there was no lack of mention of investment. And I would point out to him that we have appointed a new economic development manager, Nick Hibbert, who joined the organisation, I think, a fortnight ago. Is that correct? Yes. So that's all in hand, and there's no problem with our ambition to make sure that the district is economically stimulated. So I'm very happy with this document. I hope the rest of you are, and I hope you'll all vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cleaver. Councillor Phil Dilks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you. I just wanted to rise to, as Cabinet Member for Housing and Planning, to respond to a couple of the comments that have been made. First of all, to Councillor Bellamy, I welcome the comments that Councillor Bellamy has made about solar farms. The council, obviously, with the big one that we're looking at, which will actually be, we're involved, as you know, and as you are as chairman as well of the planning. Those are valid comments, and I look forward to having further discussions, if we may, about that particular item. Then there was Councillor Shorrock's raised why we pointed out we haven't got the actual target numbers of houses in the corporate plan. What we have launched under the new administration, we have launched a local plan review, and as part of that we've got regular cross-party workshops looking at the preparation of the new local plan that is in hand, and actually there is a draft being presented to Cabinet next month, which actually does have those figures that Councillor Shorrock asked for in it, and they will be, our targets will be in the local plan. And then I come to Comrade Wood. Oh, sorry. New Comrade Wood. Obviously, yes, consistently raises issues about housing, as we all do. I have to say, though, you know, I'm not sure if you've actually noticed that this new administration inherited a situation where the council had already been in special measures for over 2 years. I'm pleased to say we've now managed to get out of that, and it's a real milestone, partly due to the, you know, I'm not claiming credit for that. It was, you know, the previous administration had to take steps to do that, and the Chief Executive worked tirelessly with the housing regulator, and eventually we've managed to get out of it. So that then allows us to concentrate on what we also inherited, which was the situation with voids and repairs with our 6,000 current council houses that are in a state that no one wishes to be. We would like to move on, as you know, and likewise, as Councillor Cleaver has said about other workshops, we actually had a voids workshop, and that was at the instigation of the chairman of our new overview and scrutiny committee, which didn't exist before. The new administration has brought that in, and housing used to be dealt with as part of, you know, or scrutinised under, what was it, rural communities and something else. But it wasn't. We're now a standalone, or we have a standalone overview and scrutiny committee that holds me to account as cabinet member, and I welcome that holding to account. As I say, getting out of special measures was a significant milestone. We have more further a way to go on the journey. We know that, but as a colleague said, you know, voids did not start on May the 5th. You know, I've seen some of the publicity, some of the absolute nonsense that's come out from, you know, members of the former administration complaining about voids that were emptied and had been voids for months when they were in opposition. Sorry, they were before you were in opposition. So I'm just saying, do come to the workshops if you can. I'd like, you know, all to sort of come. We are moving on. You know, that overview and scrutiny committee, just this week, I presented 9 reports to that busy committee, 4 of which were brand new policies to tackle our housing issues, you know, in a more sustainable, less chaotic, to use that word.
30 seconds, Councillor Dill.
Yes, to use that word. But I'll sit down and say thank you, Madam Chairman.
That's the first. You normally overrun. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I did attend the first workshop to do with the corporate plan. Connecting Communities 3.6, which is very much welcome. As we all know, we are unable in Bourne or the Deepings to get a direct bus to Grantham, connecting one end of the district to the other, which is I feel very important. This is stopping children, adults from going to different schools or colleges or getting access to a different job. I know a young man who attends college here in Grantham. He has to get the bus from Bourne to Stamford, then the train to Grantham, which adds an enormous amount of time onto his already lengthy day. How do you hope to achieve connecting communities? You know, is it by public transport, which is sadly lacking, I think, in our district? And I look forward to hearing how this will be achieved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Being as we've been discussing this for quite some time now, may I suggest or propose that we cut the speaking time down to 3 minutes? Have I got a seconder for that? Thank you. Can we go to the vote, please? All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? The motion's carried. We'll now go to 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Councillor Whittington, you've already spoken.
It's a point of information, first explanation.
Okay.
Thank you. It's in relation to something that Councillor Cleaver said in relation to the members' workshops. I did at the time notified Councillor Cleaver by email that the original first two, and there are only two initial workshops, both of which took part at the same time as the Conservative Party conference last October. And I did make that point to you, Councillor Cleaver, by email, because obviously that did prevent certainly myself and maybe some other colleagues on this side from actually attending that. You did put on a third workshop. Thank you very much indeed. Unfortunately, that did clash with the mayor, because obviously you and Mayor of Grantham, that did unfortunately clash with the mayoral, so I wasn't able to attend. But I still think it's important, even if members don't attend the workshops, that we still have the forum to debate it, and this is that forum. Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Woolley.
Thank you, Chairman. I think Councillor Knowles mentioned, I want to talk a little bit more about the consultation exercise, and I think Councillor Knowles mentioned there were 587 respondents. What I'm a little bit concerned about, and what I can't see, and what I'm happy to be corrected on, is that, of course, for any consultation, for it to ever have any weight and be taken seriously, engagement must have taken place in the first place. So, you know, how can you know what your public want if you don't go out and have that conversation with the public to, if you like, build up a long list? I'm not for one moment suggesting that you take all of those items as a long list. So if you don't have that piece of information and you move straight to having members' groups and members' discussion, it sounds very much and it feels very much as though we're starting to tell the public what they need to have, rather than asking them what they would like to have. So I would like to know how much engagement took place and when it took place. I move on to the numbers, and 143,000 people roughly live in South Kesteven, and 587 people responded to the consultation. Very much. That, if my maths is right, is less than 0.5% of the total population. Are we comfortable that that's representative? Is there a reason for that, why there were so few respondents? And those sorts of questions I don't see any particular answers to. And quite frankly, I think this is a bit like the that Hello SK app, that, you know, it's 143,000 people, and I'll leave you to go away and
30
just
seconds.
see how many people there are that are actually using it. We've had Bingate, certainly in the Bourne area. In fact, I think the BBC have relocated because they want news stories, and Bourne, with their bins, seems to be occupying that place. So when we're going to continue to reduce operational emissions, when we're going round and picking up bins that have been missed.
That's the time, Councillor Woolley. Would you like to sum up, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I will sit down, but I could have gone on for a number of other points.
Councillor Charmaine Morgan, your point of order. Point of information, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was to Councillor Crawford. Totally second what you're saying there, which is why I contacted Lincs County Council officer responsible for bus transport services. And I was advised that basically the county has had budget cuts, as you know, and there is now £1 million to provide all of the bus services across the entire county. So at the moment we're fighting to keep the services that we've got, but I totally agree with you, and it perhaps comes back to my earlier comments. Thank you.
Councillor Rees-Baker.
Thank you, Chairman. Congratulations, Ashley. I think this is becoming a bit of an echo. I'm just really cheered, Councillor Trotter, to hear your comments. Absolute music to my ears. Thank you very much. I was in Carby today at the invitation of one of their parish councillors, and I really do feel the depth of affection for the environment, for the natural environment, for the trees, for the landscape as we find it, rather than the urban landscape. And it is for this reason that we've run things like the tree workshop that happened last Thursday, attended by a number of colleagues and an even larger number of external bodies, to help us really fine-tune our approach to the natural environment. It's got to be an approach that protects our existing trees, that enhances our hedgerows, that increases our canopy coverage, whilst at the same time providing the flexibility that we need to ensure that our communities are served based on what they need rather than what we are imposing. I completely agree that that workshop, the document that comes out of that workshop, which is currently out for goes out for consultation on Monday for 3 weeks, I believe that that consultation is a vital part, and I'm hearing a lot from members across the room about how important that consultation is to be representative. We are a representative democracy. Is it not one of our own obligations to ensure that we represent the views of our local people? So I would encourage on this extant consultation that all colleagues suggest to their parish councils, suggest to the county council, suggest to all of their residents to engage as strongly and as forthrightly as possible to make sure that that document fits exactly into what Councillor Trotter was saying. And I thank you again for your comments. Thank you.
Councillor Jane Kingman.
Thank you. This is just a question to Councillor Cleaver and Councillor Phil Dilt, with regards to workshops. They're a great idea. I'm all for them. But are they in the day? Do you have evening workshops? Because a lot of people here are working councillors. So they work in the day and they can't attend these workshops, which are valuable. So could you think about those, please? Thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Sorry, just to come back immediately on that, I'm also a working councillor, completely agree. One of the workshops on this issue was held on a Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock, I believe. That's the one that I managed to attend. I completely agree, though. The more variety we can give, the better.
Thank you. Councillor Knowles.
The workshops, particularly for the consultation on the corporate plan, were in the evening, so as many people could get there as possible.
Councillor Gill.
Thank you. Well, I think this has been a really interesting debate, actually. Well, first of all, a lot of work's gone into this, so I thank the officers and Councillor Knowles for the introductory comments. I don't think it's just ChatGPT that's been working on this. I think there's been some real humans working on this as well. So that's really interesting. I mean, we've heard about housing targets, investment, social housing management, challenges with the ambition, education, rural planning concerns, woodland priorities, leisure inequality, veterans, connectivity and consultation. I think we need to remember, though, that we can't really ignore the reality of what's happened here today. I mean, that there has been a change of leadership. I mean, it seems even almost farcical that we're voting on a document with the previous leaders' pictures inside the front cover. Now, it should be said that in our pre-meet for today's meeting, that today's leader failed to show up to that because I think he was in the midst of a spat with the former leader about the terms of the gentleman's agreement. So we weren't able to ask him what the journey of this document is going forward. But what I would say is, I mean, political points aside, I mean, there's a lot of really
just one moment, Councillor Gill. Is it a point of order, Councillor Turner?
Well, is that factual, Councillor Gill, or have you just speculatively made that up?
No. In the pre-meet, myself, Penny and Richard Cleaver were there.
I meant the point about that you alluded to about a potential spat. Was that factual?
I believe so, but anyway.
So you don't know it was factual then?
Can I return to my comments? So on the consultation...
Carry on, Councillor Gill.
So, I do also share concerns. Turning to page 69, overall view 1, the priorities, ambitions and outcomes that have been identified are an accurate reflection of the South Kesteven and will provide a strong foundation for the Council's corporate plan. 440 responses, only 10% agreed. Come on, that's 44 people. Surely you could have got your husbands and wives and partners to have actually responded to that. That's 44 people across the district agree with that. So I definitely have concerns about how this has been sold. I mean, I'll return to the Grantham Town Council in that we had over 1,200 responses just in Grantham to that. I think it's 1,500. This is across the whole district, and we're getting 44 people in response. So I definitely have concerns about that. But I
30 seconds.
A lot of good work has gone into this. But I am concerned that this actually does reflect the new priorities of the new leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gill. Councillor Knowles, would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, thank you very much indeed. Some of the points, I can't go through all the points that everybody said. Some of the points have been answered by my colleagues, and no doubt I'll repeat one or two of the things that have been said, but I'll try to be as brief as possible in trying to answer some of these questions that have been asked. I'm not going to name every person and go through every one, forgive me. If I've not got a specific answer, I'll try and answer that outside the meeting. But I'll try and pick up the general points. One of the general points has clearly been on the ambition, and I think Councillor Whittingham said it was. First of all, he said it was not ambitious enough because we've taken out some nonsense words from the last corporate plan that said we were going to be the best in the world at everything, and clearly we weren't, and we never could be, and we couldn't measure it even if we had been.
Words into my mouth I didn't say. All I said was to move from a document that says wishing to be the best to not is a reduced ambition. He's now implying that I'm using nonsense words. I'm sorry. I mean, is this the sort of useful comments actually going to contribute towards debate, Madam Chairman? Thank you.
If it's
Carry
happy,
on, Councillor Knowles.
Councillor Whittingham happy, I withdraw the word nonsense. But some of the ambitions.
Okay, Mark. Thank you. Sit down. Thank you.
Whatever his name is, I withdraw any consent. You know.
I'll leave the chamber, one or the other. Thank you. Councillor Knowles, would you please carry on? I'm dying for a cup of tea and a wee.
So am I. So, very, very briefly, the ambition, there is ambition there, there's real ambition there, and then there was the criticisms that said there were too many points of ambition in there that we couldn't possibly achieve them. So I do believe this is an ambitious corporate plan, but it is a realistic corporate plan, one that picks out things that we're going to try to do. And I did say during my speech that not all the things we can achieve can be done purely by this council or this cabinet or in any way, because there are lots of things, and I go back to Helen's point now, if I may. I agree with her entirely.
30 seconds.
Right. I go back, well, I can't cover all the points that were questioned about me. There's one that I will answer, and that is about the consultation and its legality and so on. And I'll read this. South Kesteven District Council's public consultations are carried out using SurveyMonkey, a market-leading survey software that is also used by some of the world's biggest companies. Our consultation officer collects IP addresses from survey responses and enters them on a separate tab on an Excel spreadsheet, so they are not associated with any other personal data in line with GDPR. These are then checked in order to establish if there are multiple responses from the same IP address, using the duplicate search function on Excel. If there are two responses from the same IP address, it is reasonable to assume that they are from members of the same household who have completed the survey using the same device. There are no anomalies identified in the corporate plan responses. I'm no expert in this field. That's to say it mildly, I'm afraid. I am no expert in this field.
Thank you,
but if you require further information, our IT officer and IT department will be able to give you some more details. I'll mention that specifically to the question. I'll try and just say that the corporate plan is ambitious, it is well thought through, there was plenty of opportunity for people to consult. Sadly, only 5 of people on the other side actually joined the consultations at the meetings we had.
Right. Thank you, Phil. You've had well over the 3 minutes, but I think you're very passionate about it, and thank you very much. So I now would like to go to the vote. Can we please go to the vote? Thank you. We'll now go for a show of hands. All those in favour of the corporate plan, please raise your hands. All those against, please raise your hands. Oh, we're going to lose. Thank you. Any abstentions? That's one abstention. One abstention. It was carried. Thank you very much. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. Now, if I say 10 minutes, you'll be quarter of an hour, 20 minutes. Every time, please, can we go for 10 minutes, because it's 4:15, and we've only done number 8, and we've still a lot of work to do. So thank you very much.
I will obviously need some support and help, because I just do. That help and support will be grateful if it comes from your good selves. It is now 20 to 5. I can't imagine we're not going to need an extension on our meeting, but I think it would be totally detrimental and not positive to go beyond 5:30. It would be good to get through the agenda items that we desperately need to look at today. Can I remind you that the 3-minute speaking rule applies for the rest of the meeting? That caused us a little consternation, because I think Councillor Knowles felt he was cut short with his summing up on the last agenda item. But for good sense, let's see if we can make it through the rest of the meeting. I certainly don't want to not allow you to speak on matters of importance. Point of information, Councillor Baker.
And a point of comfort, I am sweltering at the back here, as I'm sure many of my male colleagues are. May we be permitted to take our jackets off? I am actually quite pleased by that request, as matters of male dress have come up previously. But please, gentlemen, take it from the chair. You can remove anything you like above visual level. Please do so. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going on to agenda item 9, appointments to outside bodies. I understand that there are 2 elements to this, but I will read the bit I've got for the first element and we'll see where we go. To provide full council with an opportunity to appoint to an outside body, as well as giving South Kesteven Coalition Group the opportunity to appoint members to 4 vacancies. Council also needs to propose a chairman for the Finance and Economic Overview and Scrutiny Committee. This report will be introduced by Monitoring Officer Graham Watts. You okay to go on this, Graham?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have anything to add to the report, so just give the relevant group leader the opposition to make any nominations. Thank you, Chairman.
I understand. Over to you, Councillor Dew, for some nominations, please.
Yeah, there's several nominations for ourselves, actually, so several changes. So, on the Standards and the Environment Committee, we're going to delegate the decision for the nomination to myself to nominate outside of this meeting. On Planning, we'd like to nominate Sarah Trotter for that committee. Also, Helen Crawford will be replacing Gloria Johnson on that committee. And for the position on the Finance Committee and the Finance Chair, we'd like to propose for the Finance Chair and for the Finance Committee, Councillor Nick Robbins. Thank you.
Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. I don't know if you have those written down, Councillor Dew. I did ask for them a while ago. Is it possible to share them with all members? And secondly, I don't think this is the point in the meeting to be nominating the Chair of Finance. That's a different issue, isn't it? Members of Finance, up to you. But Chair of Finance is a different part of the process.
So I'm happy to...
Do you want to reply to that, Councillor Dew?
I'm happy to reply to that. Yeah, there's been dialogue with the monitoring officer. I think some of those came earlier, which is why, I mean, as I say, 2 of them are going to be delegated to my decision. I mean, as the Finance Chair, I mean, that was part of the settlement that we had with the May settlement with your predecessor. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about gentlemen's agreements and things today. Yeah, as I say, I mean, in conversations we had in the pre-meet, nothing was raised. It was discussed in the pre-meet that you didn't attend, and that we would be nominating for there, and I wasn't corrected on that. I do appreciate we've now got a new leader, so maybe gentlemen's agreements and pre-meets no longer apply. But anyway, yeah, I do appreciate that this has not been in writing, but there has been dialogue with the monitoring officer and in the pre-meet with the predecessor, Councillor Cleaver. Thank you.
Is it possible for us to go ahead with the first part of the nomination from Councillor Dew, i.e. the councillors sitting on committees, but we leave the actual head of finance till later on? Councillor Cleaver?
Are we going to go through the recommendations one by one? Can we cover off 1 and 2 and then go to 3?
I think that's what I was trying to say, Councillor Cleaver. Do you want to say it for me again, please?
Sorry. If you refer to the recommendations.
Yeah, it's different in my pack, Councillor Cleaver. I
I told you I'd need help. So, what we're doing is approve the appointment of one elected representative to sit on the... Oh no, I've gone way off, that's different. So
do that one first.
Okay, right, I apologise to all concerned. As I expected, I've made an absolute mess of it, so we will restart, and I've got to go to the other page in my pack, which is the appointment of one elected representative to sit on the Grantham Transport Strategy Group outside body. Does that make sense with everyone? Do I have a nomination?
I should like to nominate Councillor Tim Harrison, please.
Sorry, Councillor Cleaver, could you stand up and say that again, please, sir?
Apologies. I should like to nominate Councillor Tim Harrison.
Do we have a seconder for that nomination? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Do we have any other nominations? Straight to the vote then, ladies and gentlemen. Have you got another nomination, Councillor Sawyer? You're voting. Thank you. Those in favour? Against? That's unanimous. Thank you for your support, councillors. At least we achieved one thing. 2, we have to approve any appointments or changes to the membership of any other outside bodies. Who gives information on this, folks? Are there any?
Sorry, Chairman, that just gives the Council the opportunity to make any other amendments to any of the other outside body membership appointments that have been made. So I haven't been informed of any requirements to change anything, but it just gives the Council that opportunity so we don't have to go through that if there aren't any changes to make. Thank you, Chairman.
Do we have any changes? Anyone proposing any? In that case, I will move on to point 3. Approves the appointment of the nominations from South Kesteven Coalition Group. I'm catching you up, Graham, I'm nearly there. For one seat on each of the following committees: Environment Overview Scrutiny Committee, Finance and Economic Overview Scrutiny Committee, Planning Committee and Standards Committee. Graham?
Thank you, Chairman. So I think in relation to that recommendation, we've had a proposal from Councillor Gill that the appointment from his group to the Standards Committee and the Environmental Overview and Scrutiny Committee be delegated to him to make appointments outside of this chamber. In relation to the Planning Committee, an appointment of Councillor Sarah Trotter and Councillor Helen Crawford in place of Councillor Gloria Johnson, and an appointment of Councillor Nick Robbins on the Finance and Economic Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Thank you, Chairman.
Do we have to vote on that?
Standards Committee was a request to delegate to the group leader to make the appointments outside of the chamber.
Councillor Baxter?
Can I ask a question? Has Councillor Gill not had an opportunity to discuss with his group the agenda and who should go on to the committee?
This now, or?
I'd assume not, but it seems like we are. Councillor Gill, do you want to answer the point?
Okay, so there's multiple interest in this, but we decided to delegate that. I mean, as I say, this was all discussed at the pre-meet that you didn't attend. I mean, as I say, I'm happy to mention it again. We had a pre-meet, the leaders, Penny, myself and Richard, and I had to dial in because I was running late, but you didn't attend it, so it was discussed at that meeting. Thank you.
I'm assuming you are proposing those appointments, Councillor Gill, and do we have a seconder?
I've still got questions.
Is it a question or point of order? I'm not sure we're in a debate situation at present, Councillor Baxter, are we? Point of order, go for it, Councillor Baxter.
Could I have clarification from the monitoring officer? Just before the last election, the rules were changed so that political groups couldn't indefinitely hold seats open. How does that apply here if we're delegating? And if we're delegating, to what date are we delegating? Is it indefinite, or are we going to put some kind of deadline on it?
Graham?
Thank you, Chair. Just in relation to the point of the Constitution, so if this Council today delegated that authority to the group leader, that delegation would stand. So this Council will have granted permission for the group leader to effectively decide who he would like to appoint to those vacancies outside of the rule that was changed in the Constitution, because the Council is giving a new delegation to him. There was no time limit proposed, so it would be an open delegation, I'm assuming, but that's the proposal that's been put forward to the council.
Councillor Baxter.
In that case, Chair, I would like to propose that a deadline be set, perhaps of Monday afternoon.
Can we do that? Councillor Gill.
I think that is a fair comment, that it shouldn't be, because that was discussed in the previous council, that there shouldn't be rolling committee appointments. I think Monday afternoon is perhaps a little bit unrealistic, but I think Councillor Baxter's right on this, and that that shouldn't be indefinite, and that should be made ahead of the next meeting.
Are you coming back on that, Councillor Baxter, or are we moving on?
Just for clarity, ahead of the next full council meeting or ahead of the next meeting of each individual committees?
Councillor Gill.
One would assume. So I think this is, just for the benefit of all the other councillors, this is why we have pre-meets to discuss these things. But anyway, I'll put that to one side. But no, obviously I assume that the committees will only meet once between now and the next full council. I'd like to hold it open until the next full council, but just to give assurances, we do not want to have an indefinite rolling open appointment. That is not acceptable, and that's not what's being looked for here. So I can certainly offer assurances there, as I did do in the pre-meet that Penny, myself, and Councillor Cleaver attended. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a second of Councillor Gill's appointment? Thank you, Councillor Milne. I'm going to go to the vote. All those in favour of the appointments, please raise your hands. Anyone against? Any abstentions? I believe that was carried. Thank you. We now move on to the appoint a chair to the Finance and Economic Overview and Scrutiny Committee. I might need to take a bit of advice on this one from Graham.
Thank you, Chairman. So the appointment of Chairman and Vice Chairman of committees, there is a clause in the Constitution which states that the appointment of Chairman and Vice Chairman of committees according to their suitability and merit in the opinion of the Leader of the Council. So it would be up to councillors to nominate who they wish to be put forward for consideration of Chairman of the committee, but ultimately the Leader would need to give their view as to their suitability and merit and effectively have that power of veto, and that's the ruling that's in the Constitution, Chairman. Thank you.
So, do we have a nomination? Councillor Dilks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to nominate Councillor Bridget Lay to be Chair of the Finance Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Lay was elected along with myself and Councillor Denniston in the ward of Deeping St James last May. And she may be new, but she brings a wealth of experience, life experience, I should say, knowledge and plain common sense to the role. And since her election, she's taken up numerous ward issues that have frankly been some of them hanging around for a while, and she's achieved sensible solutions. I was not surprised when Bridget was appointed Vice Chairman to that committee after the May elections, but she's since, as you probably know, been called on to chair numerous meetings, and I've been enormously impressed with the way she's handled hugely difficult issues in a fair, open and collegiate way. I have no hesitation in nominating Councillor Lay.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Moran, do you wish to speak now?
I echo everything Councillor Dilks has... Sorry? Oh. I echo everything Councillor Dilks has said. Obviously, as a fellow councillor within the Deepings, I've taken great interest in her participation in things, in committees where she's just got place, and I've always found her questioning very in-depth, and the background that she looks into before any committee meeting is second to none, really. So, yes, I'd like to second the nomination.
Sorry about that, councillors. I was taking advice on the next part. Are there any other nominations for the position? Councillor Gill?
Yeah, thank you. So earlier today, Councillor Ian Selby spoke of the gentleman's agreement and the settlement of May. And chairmanships and responsibilities of this council were part of those discussions. I remember at the time Councillor Cleaver speaking at great length with myself about the thinking in the Rainbow Alliance group, with the group of councillors trying to bring them together. Councillor Baxter has only been imposed several minutes, and in spite of coming into office in what appears to be a behind closed doors deal, he's now reneging on these commitments of his predecessor. I personally do not feel that Councillor Bridget Lay is a fit person to take on this role. I believe that as acting chairperson of the joint budget scrutiny in the DP's Leisure Centre, many have come up to me and were appalled at the fact that she didn't declare her secretaryship of the Safe DP's Leisure Centre.
Excuse me, Councillor Gill. Is it a point of information? Point of order, Councillor Baxter.
Chair, you invited Councillor Gill to submit a nomination, not to make a political speech.
It's made by Councillor Richard Cleaver after the election. I therefore propose the experienced Councillor Nick Robbins as Chair of Finance, so that this administration can prove, this hard-left administration can prove that they're not afraid of scrutiny. Thank you.
Point of order, Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. I thoroughly reject the statement there that Councillor Lay is not a fit person, and I want that withdrawn.
Yeah.
I want it withdrawn now, please.
I am inclined to agree with the Councillor Gill. I mean, without any sort of clarification to make a statement like that, I would also suggest that certain phrases, and please take this in a friendly way in which it's meant, Rainbow Alliance et al. We do not want to carry on like this for the next hour and however long it takes, or for the future. Councillor Gill, are you content to remove the statement of not a fit person?
On the record that she was the secretary of the Save the Deepings Leisure Centre group as she was chair of that meeting. So therefore I will remove that from the record, but my nomination for Councillor Nick Robbins stands. Thank you.
I think in the fairness of democracy, I thank you for the nomination. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Robbins? Thank you, Councillor Milnes. I now am going to not have any debate. I'm going to make that ruling. We're going to go straight to a vote.
Is there any more nominations?
Oh, sorry. Are there any more nominations? Thank you. In that case, I am going to go straight to a vote, and I'll hand over to Graham, potentially, to take us through the vote.
Apologies, Chairman, and without wishing to delay proceedings, I just need to ensure that Councillor Baxter is content as Leader of the Council in the suitability and merit of both nominations that have been put forward, so that we can have a vote on the nominations. Thank you.
I want to say that I don't mind people being nominated. It would have been useful if you'd responded to the email about who the nominations were. I don't...
Thank you, Councillor Gill. Would you like to finish, Councillor Baxter, and then we will proceed? Thank you.
I'm not... I think the process for electing chairs does need to change. And I think the way that it's been done in the past, with the leader basically giving the choice of just one person, is the wrong way. So I think, certainly on this occasion, I'm happy for the vote to go ahead. The only thing the reason why I would not want it to go through in the same way is that we've got to go through the 56 councillors like that. Is it possible to do it on a show of hands?
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, yes, the vote would be taken by a majority show of hands on this occasion, yes. Yes.
We are now going to go for a vote. It needs to be alphabetical. L, V... You do this, Graham.
So we've had two nominations that have been proposed and seconded, so it's effectively a case of voting for the candidate that you wish to be elected. So we would literally do a vote of those in favour of Councillor Bridget Lay, show your hands. Those in favour of Councillor Robbins, show your hands, and then we will count the votes, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Could councillors in favour of Councillor Bridget Lay please show your hands, please? And for Councillor Nick Robbins. Councillor Bridget Lay has the vote, ladies and gentlemen, so has the position. It's good to be woken up by the Chief Exec and told that I can vote. I'd actually forgotten that. And I also need to point out the fact that when I meet Gloria, we're going to have a few words, but we are now going to move on to approve our nomination. Sorry, councillors, it's definitely going to be an 8 o'clock job. We now need to get to nominate a Vice Chair of Finance and Economic Overview, because Councillor Lay was Chair.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair, do I have any nominations? Councillor Shorrock.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Thank you, Councillor Shorrock. Do you want to say anything? Or no, we don't. Anyone?
I would say, I wasn't going to say anything because I think his merits are self-evident. However, what I will say is I find it incredible, right, that the Conservative group are wanting to put up candidates to chair and probably deputy chair organisation and scrutiny committees, when one of the roles of those committees will be to set the KPIs on the corporate plan, a plan which they voted against, right, as well. So how could they take on that responsibility in that kind of way? So this person is the best person for the job.
Thank you, Councillor Shorrock. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Harrison, thank you. Do we have any other nominations? Councillor Gill?
Yeah, I feel as if I ought to respond to that. I mean, the scrutiny is to be a friend, a critical friend. So yeah, that's my reply to the person who was talking about proto-fascists yesterday in the emails. But okay, I'd like to again propose Councillor Nick Robbins as the South Kesteven Coalition nomination for the Vice Chair of Finance and Scrutiny for all the reasons previously given. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Mills, thank you. And can I go to Councillor Baxter to see whether he agrees with that proposal?
I certainly have a preference. I want to address the point that Graham made earlier on about the settlement back in May. The settlement back in May were based on the circumstances in May when, unlike the previous administration, this side awarded some, in order to keep a bit of balance, awarded some seats to your side. What you've done with those seats is up to you, and it's beyond our control. Bridget Lay has proven herself to be a very competent leader. On the other hand, Nick Robbins doesn't even sit on that, hasn't recently sat on the committee. So I think that Lee is...
So what's the point of order, Councillor Gill?
The Vice Chairman not debating this. I think these are very interesting, and I agree with some of these. But we're appointing a deputy chairperson. I think these are interesting points, and they're the kind of points that get discussed in full council pre-meets. But no, I think we've gone off the agenda again.
Well, we haven't, in as much as the leader has given his explanation of Councillor Gill, but I will ask Councillor Baxter to finish.
So, as leader, I'll go with what the council votes with. Personally, I'll be voting for Councillor Steptoe, but if the council thinks that Nick Robbins is the right person as a fresh member to the committee to chair that difficult committee, then so be it.
Councillor Bellamy? We haven't because of the break, Councillor, but I am about to go to a vote. We're going to be doing it in alphabetical order. If you... Sorry? I wasn't going to debate, but I can if that's your desire. We're going to go to debate?
You need to go to the vote now.
No, I've made the decision. We will go to the vote, Councillor. So, if you wish to support Councillor Robbins, could you raise your hands, please? Councillor Steptoe, please raise your hands, please. Sorry. Councillor Steptoe wins that vote. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So he is Vice Chair of Finance and Overview Scrutiny. I'm hoping that ends that agenda item. Anyone got any reason to believe it doesn't? We're good? Moving on. Yep. I'm now moving on to agenda item 10, which is fees and charges proposals for 2024-25. The Council is asked to approve the following fees and charges proposals for the financial year 2024-2025. Green waste bin annual collection charges increase of £2 on the first bin to £51. £15 increase for all subsequent bins to £42. The increase of discretionary fees and charges set out in Table 2. Are you speaking on this, Richard? No, I am. Thank you, Councillor Baxter. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I realise time is getting on. I'm happy to propose these fees and charges proposals. They have been discussed at different committees. They've been discussed at Cabinet and discussed at length at the Joint Budget Committee. We did have some lively discussion about the increase in the bin charges, as stated in paragraph 1A of the recommendations, and I still support those. There are two amendments that have been made that the paperwork hasn't caught up with. The first is to say that there's an additional item on the fees and charges, which is to add a charge to the proposed fees and charges under the planning charges of the discharge of planning obligation, approval of details pursuant to a planning obligation, Section 106 Section 106 agreement, per clause £162 plus VAT. The reason for this is that we have lots of people that come back to try and alter the details, and it takes up a lot of officer time, and at the moment there isn't a proper way of charging for that, so we're planning to introduce a charge to cover the work that our officers have to do for people messing about with the applications after they've done. The second amendment is as a result of the lively debate that we had at the Joint Budget Scrutiny Group. Councillor Crawford helpfully pointed out that the departure fees for buses from 87p to 90p would actually could have an impact on the amount that buses arrive and the amount of time that people use buses and so on. So we want to encourage public transport and green living. Therefore, the departure fee for buses will not be increased from 87p to 90p.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Dilks. Do you want to speak now or reserve the right?
No, I was particularly anxious as a planning cabinet member to second the one about planning. Given time, I'm happy to support, and we did have a debate, and I think Councillor Crawford was quite right, you know, in raising that, and so I'm happy to second both if that is helpful to you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Dilks. We'll now go to debate. I have Councillor Sawyer. You have 3 minutes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman, or should it be Vice Chairman or Acting Chairman? I'm not sure of the protocol. I'd appreciate a comment on this from the Cabinet Member for Finance, which I think would be actually, if we can just backdate him a bit. I'm concerned that many of the fees are to be increased by 10% or more at a time when the rate of inflation in the UK is 4%. I notice that the food industry seems to be especially heavily clobbered with fee increases of up to or beyond 40%, 40%. I also have concerns that market stall and leisure centre membership fees are higher for Stamford than in either Bourne or Grantham. So I would appreciate a comment about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ben Green.
Thank you very much, Chair. So I stand before you with a rallying cry for fairness and common sense. Our green bins, a symbol of our commitment to environmental responsibility, should not become victims of a stealth tax that burdens hard-working residents. The proposed collection fee hike to £51 is nothing short of an assault on the pockets of the very people who diligently contribute to disposing waste responsibly. Now, Councillor Paul Fellows may be willing to have the life taxed out of him, but our residents didn't sign up for a relentless march of rising collection charges. It's time to declare a freeze, a respite for those who participate in this essential service. There's a real danger that people facing economic pressures may cancel this service, leading to a surge in fly tipping as green waste finds its way to unauthorised locations in our wards. We can't let this happen. So let's not punish responsible citizens for doing their part. Instead, we should find savings in the most sensible places: catering costs, conference expenses and consultancy fees, ensuring that our budget remains balanced without burdening those who deserve a break. On consultancy fees alone, we've spent over £400,000, or very nearly, since May. Other councils lead the way on fairness, like our neighbours at North Kesteven. There, the collection charge is not only 20% cheaper at £40, but has also been frozen in recent years. So this is possible. Let's do it. Therefore, I'd like to formally propose amending the first bullet of 1A of our recommendations to read: freezing the green waste bin annual collection charge for the first bin at £49. Any revenue shortfall will be addressed through savings in catering costs, conference expenses and consultancy fees. Thank you.
Thank you for quoting me correctly, Councillor. And can I wish you luck in your application to the Shakespeare Stamford Company? I just need to take advice on what I assume is a proposed amendment. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Green's?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Gill, reserving the right to speak.
Thank you.
We have not. I think it is on its way. Hopefully you have the gist of the amendments, and I would like to go to debate. Has anyone got anything to say on the amendment? I will read it as soon as I have it. It is freezing the green waste bin annual collection charge for the first bin at £49. Any revenue shortfall will be addressed through savings in catering costs, conference expenses and consultancy fees. Anyone wish to comment? Oh, on here, yes. Councillor Harrison.
It has to be on the amendment.
On the amendment, Councillor Harrison.
I'd just like to respond to our resident poet laureate and explain yet again in words of one syllable. This is a service that we're not obliged to provide. It is an extra service we provide. I find it quite amusing, actually, that the very people who voted for a £5 hike last time are now going against this hike. Everybody I know, everybody I speak to that has green bins has no issue with this this policy. As I explained in depth, a 12-yard skip, which virtually covers a year's worth of waste bins, costs you £256. So there's a massive saving in using the green bins. So that's just a counter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Paul Wood on the amendment. Councillor Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I disagree with Councillor Harrison, actually. It's probably not too surprising, is it, Tim? But on the green bins generally, I'm not against modest increases, but I'd like particularly, I agree with Ben's amendment, by the way, to freeze the prices. I would also like to point out, particularly concerns me on the subsequent bins. I know they're still cheaper than the first bins, but to increase them by £15, That's a large increase, up to 42. I know it's still below their 49 or 51. But a lot of people now, unlike Councillor Harrison, I represent rural areas. And a lot of rural areas have got quite big gardens. And a lot of people have subscribed or paid for 2 green bins. And they probably need 2 green bins. And then to hike that up by £15, I think is unacceptable and doing a disservice to people in our rural areas. So that's probably, I don't know what the environmental people have got to say. I don't know what the Green Party's got to say about it, but is it environmentally friendly? Are we trying to encourage people to use green bins or not? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Whittington.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I actually wanted to speak not on the amendment, but on the.
Oh well, can I ask you?
But I do have to go now, so I won't be able to speak on the original proposal anyway. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Whittington. Councillor Knowles.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Councillor Harrison has taken some of my thunder away from this. I understand that the average increase over the last 4 years in green bins, has been 8%. The proposed increase now is almost exactly inflation, which would satisfy Max as well, won't it? It's inflation. And the idea that we suddenly have a transformative process that takes place over 12 months, so that last year we can advocate and vote for huge increases in green bins, and this year we can't even consider actually inflation-based increases. It seems enormous to me and strange to me, and it's pure theatrics every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Baxter.
That increase on the second green bins is a lot more than that, isn't it? It's gone up from.
I was speaking to the amendment, which proposes a freeze on the actual first bin. So I was speaking specifically to the amendment, never mentioned the other bins.
You're absolutely right, Councillor. Thank you for that. Councillor Back. I'm also aware, Councillors, that we now certainly have gone over the time. I'm going to propose that we carry on for 6. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to have to suggest we go to 6 because our agenda is still full, ladies and gentlemen. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Morgan. So, all in favour of carrying on till 6 o'clock at the very, very latest? All against? That's a close one. Sorry? Yeah, we're going to need a count again, ladies and gentlemen. All in favour of extension till 6 o'clock? And against, councillors? Ladies and gentlemen, please, one meeting. We have an extension till 6 o'clock. I apologise. I was hoping we weren't going to have to do that. We have. The motion was passed. We will extend to 6 o'clock. We will also try, ladies and gentlemen, to move forwards as quickly as possible. Yeah, I understand the point, Councillor Robbins, but unfortunately I don't think there's anything I can do about that, especially as we seem to have 2 councillors from either side going. And
we voted against it. That's voted for, and then they're going.
I will take advice, Councillor, but I am going to carry on with the meeting. So, Councillor Baxter.
I was going to speak, but I refer Councillor Green and others to the comments that we made in the lengthy debate at the Overview Scrutiny Committee, and instead I'd like to use this time to suggest we move to the vote on the amendment. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor. I will do that. And in answer to your query, Councillor Robbins, it is the moment the vote is taken. So though the councillor left literally a minute after, constitutionally, that's okay. Right, we are voting, ladies and gentlemen. Those in favour, Point of order, Councillor Dilks.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me asking. I was going to say get a compass bin, but I would just wish to ask, should any councillor who has a green bin, 2 green bins or 3 green bins, declare an interest?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Councillor. I've just been advised on that. We are now going to move for the vote on the amendment. If you are in favour of the amendment... Point of order, Councillor Green.
Some of the comments. I'm disappointed to see no change of position from this hard-left administration.
No. No right reply, Councillor Green. Right, those in favour of Councillor Green's amendment, could you raise your hands, please? Keep them so we can count them. Those against? Yeah. The amendment falls. I'm now going to go to the actual motion. Do you want to sum up, Councillor Baxter?
Formally, please.
I apologise. We haven't debated. I haven't given you opportunity to debate the original motion, which is where we are now before we go to a vote. I'd also like to say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so aware of the time and I'm so aware of the fact that councillors are getting tired. Please bear with us. Please let's see this meeting through. I thank you for your forbearance and patience. Does anybody wish to comment on the original motion?
As amended by Ashley.
As amended by Councillor Baxter in a small amount. Councillor Woolley.
Thank you, Chairman. I wasn't going to make a comment, but it's really, really difficult to accept that it's the right thing to do to increase the fees to non-profit making performances and organisations at Bourne Corn Exchange by 46%. Non-profit making organisations. I'm really sorry that you feel that that's justified. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shorrock. Oh, you have disappeared, so you couldn't...
No, I am here, but I didn't want to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Shorrock. Councillor Morgan.
Sorry, I actually had this on. I will quickly speak on this, though. Our arts are absolutely up against it and at risk. It's hugely important that we fund them sustainably, and we need the means to do that. So I will support this increase for that reason.
Councillor Robbins, do you wish to speak? No. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sawyer.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm still hoping to get comments on about the points I raised a few minutes ago.
Hopefully that will happen in the summing up, Councillor. Councillor Green on the original motion.
Yeah, stealth taxes are exactly what we've come to expect from this hard-left Rainbow Alliance administration. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. I'm not sure how helpful. Can I ask you... Oh, Councillor Turner, do you want to speak or not?
Yes, please. Councillor Green, we are not going to start calling you the hard right, so perhaps you could just, you know, treat us all like citizens and cut out the language. We're just the Rainbow Coalition and you're the SK Alliance, okay?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Baxter, would you like to sum up the agenda item in the motion?
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Councillor Sawyer, for reminding me of your original sensible questions. The rate of inflation is currently 4%. Why has SKDC increased its fees? The increase in fees is based on us trying to get closer to recovering the costs of delivering the services. So even though the overall inflation rate might be 4%, as you know, SKDC and other public sector organisations have been hit particularly badly with energy price increases and wage increases and so on. The food industry has been hard hit. The fees have been recalculated, again, to ensure the council is recovering its costs in delivering the environmental health service. Market stalls, did you ask market stalls in Stamford higher than those in Grantham and Bourne? The market in Stamford, I am happy to say, is thriving, and we have a very well used service market in Stamford, which requires a lot of support in putting up stalls and so on, and it's a far busier market. In Grantham, it says the proposal for 24-25 is to freeze all market charges to their current level. So we're not actually changing. Yeah, we're not actually changing the market charges. They've always been like that. I guess if you wish to say that they should be levelled up or levelled down, please bring that to a meeting of the finance scrutiny or to the budget meeting or wherever. But personally, I think that because it's not a punishment for success of the market, but Grantham, we really want to increase the footfall and the number of stalls in Grantham, and that's why there's a difference in it. The leisure centre fees, if you're saying the fees in Stamford are higher than in Grantham, you're incorrect. The fees at Grantham are slightly higher than the fees in Stamford. I hope that answers all of it. The rest, as I said, I did it at the scrutiny committee, so I'd like to move to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm now going to go to the vote. If you are in favour of the proposal, councillors, could you raise your hand now, please? Got it. And against? That's carried. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Abstentions on that one. Sorry, guys. That's carried. Thank you. We have two agenda items that we need to talk about today and deal with, ladies and gentlemen. When those two agenda items have been completed, I will close the meeting, even if it is not 6 o'clock. But we move to agenda item 11, budget framework with amendments. The Council is asked to approve the following budget amendments. Subject to a successful outcome of Phase 3 Public Sector Decarbonisation Scheme, increase the Capital General Fund Decarbonisation Scheme contribution to £492,500. B. Delegate authority to the Deputy Chief Executive in consultation with the Deputy Leader of the Council to accept the Phase 3C Public Sector Decarbonisation Scheme funding if the grant application is successful. C. Provide an additional management fee of £123,000 to Leisure SK Limited for the current financial year 23 to 24. And who is speaking on this one, please? Proposing it. Thank you, Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. These budget amendments have already been through the Cabinet process, and we have talked about the Leisure SK issue at length in other meetings, and I appreciate members from across the Chamber for doing that. There is one other recommendation, though, which is a tidying up exercise after our previous full Council meeting, which is, I guess you'd call it D. Recommends to full Council, the Cabinet asks that full Council create a leisure reserve of £850,000 in order to fund the contribution towards the refurbishment of the Deepings Leisure Centre. So we agreed at the previous full Council meeting that we would be ready, subject to a lot of caveats, to fund £850,000 towards the Deepings Leisure Centre. It's my absolute joy to propose that, but before we hand the money over, we need to create a reserve, and so that's what this amendment is about, to form a leisure reserve of £850,000 to fund the contribution. With that, I'd like to move formally the rest of the proposal.
Have we a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Harrison. We move to debate. Does anyone want to speak? Councillor Kelly, I have you down. Do you want to speak now?
I'm afraid I wanted to speak on the other item where I wanted to say it was so sad that Bourne has less library time than everybody else, and you want to put the fees up for using the hall so that we get a little bit of culture. So sad.
Thank you for that. Councillor Gill?
We've got several quite different things here. I think it might be useful to take points A and B together straight away, because I don't think people want to speak on that and then look at C and D separately. So can I suggest looking at points A and B first, voting pretty much straight away, and then looking at C and D? Thank you.
Councillor Baxter? Oh. Are you happy with that, Councillor Baxter?
It's up to you how you chair the meeting, Chair. I'm happy to go with that if you think it's a good idea.
It's your recommendation, Councillor, so I've been advised that it is up to you to say yay or nay as to whether or not we take them separately like that.
If we're minded to take them separately, I don't mind.
We will take them separately, Councillor, thank you. So we are debating proposals A and B. Councillor Gill?
Go straight to the vote on A and B. I think they're both fine. Thank you.
In that case, without any, can we have a vote in favour of proposals A and B? Those in favour? Oh, I like that one.
Against.
I like that one a lot.
Against.
Yep.
Against.
Anyone against? Any abstentions? Those two are carried. We are now looking at C. Sorry? Do you want to speak on this one, Councillor Gill? We're looking at proposal C. Oh, we've got Councillor Knight as well. Councillor Knight, do you want to go first? Certainly, Councillor Sharrock.
Given the fact that D is essentially an amendment to this proposal, have you got that in writing somewhere so I can see it? Because I know you've said it, I'm really tired now and I can't remember what it was that you said. So I think we need it in a written form.
Chairman, if I can just say it was minuted from the Cabinet meeting, but we'll get those minutes up on the screen to help you on this one. Thank you.
Are you happy to go ahead, Councillor Knight, while those are coming on the screen?
Discussing point C, or are we discussing the amendment D? C. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Congratulations, Councillor Baxter. We've been leader now for quite a while, but it's the first time I've spoken since then. The whole Leisure SK issue, as some of you may know from different committees, is something that weirdly I've picked out of nowhere. It seems to have suddenly become my thing. That was not by design. But I think that what has really stood out about this whole issue is the genuine cooperation that there's been, particularly thanks to Councillor Fellows, Councillor Baxter, Councillor Cleaver, Councillor Harrison, Councillor Noon, Councillor Denniston, and various others for the particular cooperation that there's been on this. As some of you may know, Leisure SK is a complete basket case, and that's putting it politely. This whole situation was avoidable, and the worst thing about this is that this £123,000 bailout requested today was actually requested one day before a £150,000 bailout was requested of Cabinet last week, and the leader and deputy leader themselves were not even informed of this until the 5th of January. It doesn't go, it almost goes without saying that any vaguely competent organisation would know more than 20 days in advance that it was going to run out of cash and not be able to pay payroll. This is a completely unacceptable situation. It's embarrassing for the council. It's embarrassing for the way that we have organised this. I appreciate that Leisure SK was set up as an emergency temporary measure, but it's a complete farce. We have to support this proposal. We have to give them the money because we don't want to close our leisure centres. But I think all of us would agree this situation is completely unacceptable. It can never, ever happen again. And all power to the Cabinet who have promised to sort this out as soon as possible. But lessons really do need to be learned. We can never be in this situation ever again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sawyer?
No. Press time.
Any other councillors wish to speak on D and I also believe C? Any other comments? In that case, can I go to the vote on C and D? No, just C. Thank you. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I'm going to like this even more. Those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That's carried. And now we have item D, which is on the screen. Councillor Baxter?
The words on the screen need a slight amendment. I'm sure that members can work out what it is. We as council are asked to agree the formation of a leisure reserve to enable us to have the money ready when the Deepens Leisure Centre CIC is ready. So thank you. As if by magic, that's what we're proposing.
Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Harrison. We'll now go to debate on this. Anyone wish to come in? In that case, I will go straight to the vote. Those in favour, ladies and gentlemen? Against. Those against? Abstentions. That's carried. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We now move on to agenda item 12, which I've just got to find in my pack. It could take about 3 years. This agenda item is the Local Council Tax Support Scheme 24-25. The Council is asked to approve the Local Council Tax Support Scheme for 24-25 based on the same overarching criteria as the existing scheme, including the following. A. Continuation of the War Pension and Armed Forces Compensation Disregard for Housing, Benefit and Council Tax Support with effect from 1st of April 2024 as detailed in paragraph 3.3. Nearly lost my breath on that one. B. The alignment of the value of the capital tariff limit and disregard for the working age claimants to the pension age claimant values with effect from 1st of April 2024 as detailed in paragraph 3.4. C. The introduction of a second home premium of 100% with effect from the 1st of April 2025 following the required 12 months notice to those ratepayers impacted by this change as detailed in paragraph 3.5. Who's speaking on this one?
Sorry.
Over to you, Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. This has been through various committees. I know we've discussed, particularly at the Finance Committee, we spent, I think, more time talking about what would happen in the following year than in this financial year. So I would like to take it as read, other than to say that now this Burns night is almost over. I'd like to ask Bridget Lay if I might invite Councillor what's your name? Councillor Green and Councillor Dixon Warren to speak with me and the Chair of Finance about your aspirations in terms of armed forces discount or whatever. We do want to understand what we are being asked, and I don't think we have sufficiently understood your aspirations so far. Looking for a nod from Bridget, yes. So with that kind of invitation, I'd like to move this formally.
Do I have a seconder for that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Harrison. We move to debate. Councillor Gill?
Yeah, I was just going to reference what the leaders just said there. Now, I for one was overwhelmed by the amount of public support there was for the Veterans Relief Scheme, and as I say, I do welcome the invitation to discuss this. We appreciated that there was actually more work than could be done to get it into this year's budget, and I'm pleased that that recognition is on both sides of the House, and so I'm grateful for that commitment, and I thank Ben and Councillor Green and Councillor Dixon Warren for the work that they've done on this. So thank you. I shall be supporting this. Thank you.
In that case, I'm going to move to the vote. Oh, Councillor Green, do you want to speak on this?
Yes, thank you very much for that, Chair. Yes, very happy to meet both yourself and Councillor Lay to discuss the further work that we hope to be conducting on this. As you'll be aware, at the Finance Committee meeting in late November, there was a carried motion to conduct a report specifically looking at those employed veterans who reside in Band A properties and whether to award them a 5% or a 10% discount, and then also to break that down in terms of the implications not only for ourselves but the County Council and the Police and Crime Commissioner too. I mean, I would have to say that, and I think I speak for the whole South Kesteven Coalition group and hopefully additional members beyond just our group, that our commitment to this remains absolutely ironclad. And as I said before, in print, in the press, I will walk this path until this is eventually accomplished. I fully accept that might be the cycle of 25-6 rather than 24-5 that we're currently looking at, but our commitment there is 100% absolute. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green. I will now move to a vote. Those in favour of the proposals, could you please raise your hands? Those against? Any abstentions? One. Thank you, Councillor Steptoe. Can I just pass to the leader, Councillor Baxter?
I'm going to say this is a point of information. We've said we will stay till 6 o'clock. We do need to make a decision on St Martin's Park by a deadline. I recognise that 20 minutes is not a long time to talk about such issues, especially when there's so many pink papers involved. So I would ask you, Chair, to try to gauge the mood of the meeting as to whether either we try to discuss what we can about the St Martin's Park issues within the next 20 minutes, or we delegate the authority to a committee, or whether we need another full council meeting. We do need to make a decision on it, but I do want to I think that we make better decisions kind of earlier in the afternoon.
I will take comments from councillors with the greatest of pleasure. It was my inclination to end the meeting now. I'll just, on the basis that there comes a point where your brain can't take any more. And if there are important things to discuss, we need to give them the true gravity they need. But I will take advice. Councillor Selby, what's your view?
Mr Chairman, can I suggest, Mr Chairman, if you feel that the St Martin's Park we can't squeeze it in before 6 o'clock, can I suggest that the following item, the Climate and Ecology Bill, shouldn't take long. It should be straightforward, that should. Can I suggest that you might want to squeeze that in if you don't wish to? But I'll take advice from the Chief Exec or the Leader on that. I don't mind either way. But I just think it's one of those we could move along if you wish.
Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Chair. I believe we should have another meeting, a fresh meeting. It's not just this particular thing. We're not going to squeeze it in 20 minutes. There's no reason to try to squeeze an ecology bill within 20 minutes. I believe we should have another meeting. And even just as important, and the notice of motion and the members' open questions. I was in opposition last time, and we actually went about 3, 4, 5, 6 months when the agenda went on so long that we never got the opportunity to question the leadership at that time. And I believe it's a right of the opposition and of this side as well to question the Cabinet and the leaders, and if that opportunity is withdrawn now, it might be withdrawn next time and again, and it could be months and months and months before that opportunity is given to members, and I don't believe that should be withdrawn. So I believe we should arrange another meeting as soon as possible to take the items here, and there may be other items that can be brought in at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Can I just ask the leader, you mentioned a time sensitivity about the St Martins, and you also gave 1 or 2 suggestions. What is the time sensitivity exactly?
May I defer to the Chief Executive, please?
What do you reckon, Karen?
Yeah, the great art of delegation. That was the first time, wasn't it? Thank you, Leader. I think if I can just come back on a few things. I think because there's been a joint scrutiny and then it's come to he. I think to delegate it to another committee will probably not. The only place you could delegate it to would be Cabinet, which therefore I don't think is appropriate. If you have an additional meeting, that means that you could have both of the outstanding items on, but you'll also have public forum, you'll have members' questions, and you'll have motions if you go for an additional meeting. If you go for an extraordinary meeting, you can only have one item on the agenda, which the critical thing is SMP, St Martin's Park, and you could put the ecology bill on our next meeting, which is only in 5 weeks' time, which is the 29th of February, which is the same one as the budget meeting. So I'd probably pop it back to members. 29th of February is your next meeting, but I'd have to call the extraordinary meeting. It would have to be at least 5 days clear to call the meeting. The issue with St Martin's Park deadline, they did give us a deadline of the 31st of January. However, I think it would probably be very unreasonable if they held us to that, because we've been sitting here today for over 4 hours of debate. It wouldn't surprise me that the developers and the other landowners actually listening to this meeting, and we have a meeting with them lined up for Tuesday, which I think it would be unreasonable if they did keep us to the 31st of January for the additional income that they're offering. So I would recommend back to you it's either an additional meeting or an extraordinary meeting to just deal with St Martin's Park.
I will take the view, councillors, that I'm going to ask you to vote on the fact that we close the meeting now. We leave the additional meeting to the Leader, the Cabinet and the Chief Exec to arrange, and they do that with some speed. People still want to speak on this one? Yeah, hundreds. Councillor Dilks.
I'm happy not to speak, simply to say, well...
Thank you, Councillor Dilks. You're more than welcome to sit down, Councillor.
I was going to support the sage advice that the Chief Exec's just given. It sounds very sensible. If we couldn't do it in 20 minutes, we certainly couldn't do it in 14. It's a massive issue, St Martin's Park, and I believe it deserves a proper consideration, not just by colleagues who've been able to stay this afternoon. I appreciate some weren't, and we've lost a lot of members. So I would propose that you close the meeting and arrange whether it's called an additional meeting or an extraordinary. I leave that to the Leader, and I'm sure you can work it out between you. Thank you.
I am going to make an executive decision from the chair, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's not only losing colleagues, it's using intellectual contribution. So I formally close the meeting at 5:40 something. You can't go till I go, so can you sit down again, please? Thank you all for your support and your help. Thank you. Can you be upstanding while the chair leads, please?